Yes, very much focusing towards the bottom of the table here at Loftus Road, where we are underway. Queen's Park Rangers wearing their blue and white hoops jerseys, playing from left to right as we look down here. And Stoke City, today's visitors, in their red and white stripes. And in possession is Sean Derry, who's got white boots almost matching his white hair. Passes the ball to Anton Ferdinand inside the Queen's Park Rangers half. He'll just retreat under pressure from Peter Crouch, who's a former Queen's Park Rangers player, of course. Queen's Park Rangers bought Peter Crouch for £60,000 from Tottenham Hotspur, and a few years later Tottenham had to pay £9 million to buy him back. Of course, he'd been to other clubs in the meantime. Derry scoops the ball forward for QPR, and Nua will flick it on. Mackie now to the edge of the penalty area. First attack of the game. Mackie into the box, pulls it back. Taarabt was the nearest player to it, but it's cleared away by Wilson, who appears to have started it right back for Stoke City. Martin Keown.
Well, Mackie, I mean, really impressed with him since he's broken into the team in recent weeks. Good run down the right-hand side. Taarabt just a little bit slow. Came a bit early for him, I feel, in this match, but he should be looking to get on the box on the end of that.
Still 0-0 between Newcastle and Manchester City. We'll keep you right up to date with developments there towards the top of the table. Here, Queen's Park Rangers, who are level on points with Bolton, both on 34. Queen's Park Rangers just above the relegation zone, though, by virtue of the better goal difference. Here comes Taarabt, who's back from suspension, wearing the gloves and the short sleeves. Dinks in a low ball into the penalty area, looking for Buzaki, and it'll be put out. Queen's Park Rangers want a corner. Stoke have just about managed to keep it in play, but they won't be able to clear their lines. And it's been quite a frantic start here in the opening 2 minutes at Loftus Road. Sean Derry in possession. Mark Hughes will like to see this, that his team have begun with a lot of tempo. Enua, sloppy ball back towards Barton. Stoke will intercept possession here, and then Enua fouls Ricardo Fuller, and that's a free kick to Stoke. Martin Keown.
Yeah, just a word on their formation. Stoke, lots of talk about four forwards. Actually what they're doing, Jerome's playing wide on the right, Crouch down the middle, Fuller taking up on the left hand side, and more unusually Walters has gone into that midfield, so quite a different formation here for Stoke today.
John Walters sort of playing a role we've seen Wayne Rooney play for Manchester United. He is a striker, but dropping very much into a midfield role at the moment as Tei Taiwo does well under pressure from Cameron Jerome, buys a bit of time for himself, and Queen's Park Rangers can come away with possession through midfield. QPR's hopes of survival took that major blow, of course, last weekend when they lost 6-1 at Stamford Bridge, and today they want to make amends for that. They've been good at home lately, but here's Giroud into the penalty area. He's put it over the crossbar, 8 yards out. Paddy Kenny desperately diving towards him. Cameron Jerome, who scored against Everton on Tuesday, puts the ball over the crossbar.
Well, it's a fantastic move. It's a diagonal ball into Crouch. He heads it down for Jerome, who makes the run off the line from the right, and he can't keep it down. He really, I mean, it's a glaring opportunity for him. It sits up lovely, and he manages to put it wide.
Well, it was at the Britannia Stadium on Tuesday when Cameron Jerome came on as a substitute and scored. And it wasn't a dissimilar chance, actually. I mean, he ran further with the ball, but in terms of the finish, he just needed to prod the ball beyond the goalkeeper. He managed to do it on Tuesday. He put it over the crossbar here. Not 4 minutes on the clock yet. Here come Queen's Park Rangers. Step over from Taarabt. Tries to shoot, lost his balance as he did so, and that's gone well off target. And out for a goal kick for Thomas Sorensen, who's replaced Begovic in goal for Stoke.
Well, I know it's early days, but that's one hell of a let-off, isn't it? You know, yep. Great opportunity for Jerome. QPR, I was here for all 5 Live doing the game against Liverpool. They were devoid of confidence in that first half. Of course, they turned the game around. They've started so brightly, freshly, full of confidence, and then all of a sudden, glaring opportunity could have wiped all that out.
Still no goals at Newcastle. Worth mentioning, of course, that although Queen's Park Rangers were so heavily beaten last weekend, because of the results elsewhere, their destiny remains in their own hands. Very tricky game, though, against Manchester City away from home at the Etihad next weekend. That's why this one's become so important. Stoke have come down the left-hand side. The ball has gone off Enua and out for a throw-in, and it's Delap time. Now, he doesn't have much of a run up here at Loftus Road, such as the proximity of the advertising hoardings right up to the pitch. But look at the position of the Stoke forwards. They're all at the far post, if you know what I like. So Forget about getting into the penalty area. They're all at the far post. Here comes the throw-in. Crouch gets up, tries to get a touch on it. Well defended. I think it was Anton Ferdinand who headed it away, and Stoke are back inside their own half.
Yeah, and he's on the penalty box there to give you some idea of how small this stadium is. It's almost like a Sabutio ground, isn't it? Very tiny, precise in its stands, and Delap's throws are massive.
I had one of these Sabutio stands when I was a kid, and now that you say it, it was modelled on Loftus Road, down to the floodlights even, I remember. Now, it might have been a free kick awarded towards Tarapt. Referee says play on. Tarapt is into the penalty area. Left-hand side for Queen's Park Rangers. And eventually, the whistle has been blown against him. And it's going to be possession back for Stoke. Tarapt has started this like a man who wants to make a point. He's got a few goals lately. Scored against Tottenham. Scored against Arsenal as well. He's been all over this game in the opening stage.
He has. Neil Warnock, of course, loved him, didn't he? And he's got great feet. The way that he transfers the ball from one foot to the other. But in the end, it's good defending just to snuff him out.
Good noise around Loftus Road. 0-0 between Queen's Park Rangers and Stoke, as Sorensen, wearing a lime green goalkeeping jersey, clears the ball onto the head of Crouch, flicked forward but doesn't find a teammate, and Anton Ferdinand will clear the ball away, and then a whistle for a challenge on the air. Zamora has fouled Ryan Shawcross, and that's going to be a free kick to Stoke inside the centre circle. Stoke quite fortunate that they got the points on the board early on this season, because just one win in their last 9 Premier League games. If they didn't have such a cushion, they might have been in big trouble with this poor run of form towards the end of the season. Let's go to Newcastle against Manchester City. John Murray.
Well, after Manchester City controlled the first half hour, it is still Newcastle 0, Manchester City 0. But Newcastle have just come back into it, and they've had their best chance so far. A stinging shot from Ben Arfa that was pushed away by Joe Hart. Phil Brown.
Temperature's just gone up a notch or 3, hasn't it? You know, all of a sudden the crowd have got behind it, a little bit frustrated at the lack of possession in the first 25-30 minutes, but listen to it now. They've had their first half decent chance, and it's been blocked, or it was saved by Joe Hart. For me, Newcastle have just come into it. They've got a good strong foothold in the game now.
Yep, City have been on top, just wondering whether they'll rue not getting a goal in that spell. But it's Newcastle 0, Manchester City 0, 10 minutes to go to half-time here.
Thanks very much, John. 0-0 also here at Loftus Road as Stoke run the ball out of play for a Queen's Park Rangers goal kick. Just listening to the boys there at Newcastle, Martin, you've got to take your chances when you're on top of the Premier League, because very few teams manage to stay on top for the full 90 minutes. Even the title-winning clubs, you know, if you have a good start, you got to score.
Yeah, from a Man City point of view, going up there to play at St James's Park is very difficult. I remember the championships that we were involved in, and whenever we went there, even against teams that weren't the greatest of sides, we never got much change.
Now, chance for Queen's Park Rangers. Busaki comes charging through the centre, and he's stopped in his tracks by the burly frame of Ryan Shawcross, and Stoke clear the ball back into the Queen's Park Rangers half. This is Anton Ferdinand. Sends the ball forward, a little bit of backspin on it. It was towards Zamora. Queen's Park Rangers fans feel that he might have been fouled by Upson. Zamora felt it himself and made those feelings known to the referee, but the play will continue and Stoke have possession of the back, still 0-0.
Just think Ferdinand there's just got to drop it in to Zamora's feet, and then he makes him favourite.
Fuller wins a header, but he'd no one to flick it onto. In a way, that was a bit of crossed wires between Peter Crouch and Ricardo Fuller, who've hardly started together up front in the league for Stoke this season. And they both went for the same ball, and they both wondered why the other hadn't run into a position to get onto that flick on.
Well, I think Fuller's got to get out of the way there when Crouch is around, hasn't he?
That's his territory. That definitely looked like a push by Upson at the back, but play on, says the referee. Queen's Park Rangers regain possession. Derry to Bazaki, and then there's a slip by Taiwo. Now this is going to release Cameron Jerome. A mistake by Queen's Park Rangers. Jerome comes away down the right-hand side. There are 4 Stoke players in the penalty area. Jerome is taking his time, gets to the byline, and, well, he's done well to win a corner, but maybe he needed to produce a cross into the box a bit earlier.
Look very vulnerable, don't they, down that left-hand side, QPR. Taiwo just inexplicably falling over. So they need to be careful. It's another set piece which Stoke will enjoy.
Second last weekend of the Premier League season. 0-0 between Newcastle and Manchester City at the moment. 0-0 here at Loftus Road. You know, they get the 3 points today. That might be enough for Queen's Park Rangers. It wouldn't be confirmed today because of the possibility of next weekend, but if the other teams were to lose their remaining games, the 3 points today would do Queen's Park Rangers. Shawcross on the attack here, tries to nod the ball to a teammate in the penalty area, but it's hoofed away by Taiwo, and Queen's Park Rangers send it long into the Stoke City half. Let's get an update from the Reebok. It also started at 2 o'clock between Bolton and West Brom, and a certain England manager under the watch of Nigel Adderley.
And it's 0-0 here. Bolton have just gone close. Martin Petrov with the shot from the angle. It was rather patted up in the air by Ben Foster, but he got away with it. But West Brom have made the stronger start, playing without pressure. Fortunet's gentle header into the arms of Bogdan, who ought to have had to move smartly to his right to keep out a long-range curler from Shane Long. But it's 0-0.
We know that Newcastle are chasing a Champions League place today, up against Manchester City, and still 0-0. Well, at Villa Park, Tottenham are chasing a Champions League place away at Aston Villa. Pat Murphy.
It's 0-0. Adebayor the best chance. He lost Dunn, flashed the shot across the keeper and just wide at the other end. Inzogbia's shot deflected onto the roof of the net. No clear advantage yet to either side. Villa 0, Tottenham 0.
Thanks, Pat. A chance there for Queen's Park Rangers, but Mackie couldn't find out a teammate in the box. There's Joey Barton, sends the ball forward, and Tarrant has had the legs taken out from underneath him by Mark Wilson. It's going to be a free kick to Queen's Park Rangers midway inside the Stoke half.
Well, we talked about Tarrant moving the ball so quickly. Look, he just pushes it through his legs there, and there's no question that's a free kick.
Normally, Mark Wilson plays left back for Stoke, Huth plays right back. They seem to have switched it today. Do you think that is in any way with Tarrant in mind, the tricky customer he is?
No, I just think that, if you look at their starting 11 for the season, Wilkinson, the right back, I think he's injured currently, so they're trying to find a solution there. And, Huth has played in that role, hasn't he, before now? So, I think Huth probably makes a better right back, actually, than Wilson. I don't understand why. He's left-footed, isn't he, playing him at right back?
Well, we'll talk about that more in just a moment. Looks like Tarrant fancies one here. From the free kick, drills it through the wall. Oh, great save from Sorensen. And following up into the side netting of Joey Barton. Sorensen had to go full stretch. He's a goalkeeper who's not been first choice in recent times. It was such a long way out, but it was a good free kick, and Sorensen made the save.
He did, but he almost went down in stages, didn't he? I didn't know if he was going to make it in the end. I mean, it's right in the corner. He's so athletic, Sorensen, that he manages to get to it, and Barton's just unable to turn it in. The angle's just too tight for him.
Well, he managed to keep it low and on target, and it was curling away from the goalkeeper towards the bottom corner. Good free kick from Tarrant, and that's been the best chance that we've had so far at Loftus Road. Still 0-0 here, still 0-0 between Newcastle and Manchester City. Let's go to Craven Cottage, Fulham against Sunderland, and David Oates.
And we have had a goal in the 11th minute. It's come, as you can probably tell, from the home team, Fulham. Clint Dempsey, his 17th Premier League goal of the season. Terrific 25-yard free kick into the top right-hand corner. Fulham 1, Sunderland 0.
Thanks very much, David. Fulham could move ahead of Liverpool today in the table, up into 8th, as Rory Delap's preparing another big throw-in for Stoke, attacking position down the left-hand side. Referee needs eyes in the back of his head here. There's so much going on in the penalty area. Here comes the throw-in, drops down for Shawcross, and it was a defender's shot, really. He got in underneath it, and always rising up over the crossbar. Back to Newcastle, John Murray.
It is still 0-0, but so close to an opening goal for Manchester City. Silva pulled the ball back from the byline. Barry with a shot, blocked by Colaccini, came back to Barry, shot again, and Santon cleared it off the line.
How it's still 0-0, we'll never know, John. They're putting their bodies on the line for the cause. We've just witnessed a one-on-one situation with Aguero. Within 5 seconds, they've got the back four intact, the midfield intact. The hard work of Newcastle's paying dividends, and that's the reason why they've still got a clean sheet.
Yes, it's a good deal more competitive now. Newcastle 0, Manchester City 0.
Thank you very much, John. 0-0 here at Loftus Road. Stoke City on the attack, and fans of Wigan and Bolton and Blackburn will all be urging Stoke to do a job on Queen's Park Rangers here away from home, as Glenn Whelan chips the ball into the penalty area, and it's headed away by Anton Ferdinand. Stoke pick it up again. Wilson on the right hand side sends in a left-footed cross. Again, it's Ferdinand who gets his body in underneath it, and Mackie might have handled the ball as he tried to control it there. As it was, it ran out of play anyway, and it'll be a throw-in to Stoke on the left-hand side of the field. Martin Keown is right beside me.
Yeah, I think Huth complaining there that Mackie's lent on him, but there's going to be plenty of that today. I can't help thinking the pitch here is that Stoke players, I've never seen them with so many smiles on their face. They love it that it's just a tiny little pitch. They can just wheel that ball in from free kicks and from throw-ins, and they do look very dangerous. The football is being played by QPR, but they look very direct and very organised, Stoke.
Fuller collects the ball from the throw-in from Delap and wins another throw-in closer to the corner flag down that left-hand side. We're speaking about Robert Huth playing on the left-hand side, not up against El Tarabt. I think, Huth, very big, strong defender, good in the air. Maybe if you were to say a weakness might be if he's turned by a nippy winger. He sort of turns like an ocean liner, if you like. Here comes the Delap, throw it, flecked on by Crouch, might be there for Jerome at the back post, but Sean Derry comes away with possession and Queen's Park Rangers clear it away. But you take my point about Huth.
Yes, you can see that, and Wilson as well. And the other thing from an attacking point of view, Wilson then playing those diagonal balls off his left foot as a right back is another feature of their play. But so many big lads have they got, so many giants, that Matthew Upson's not even going up for the corners because there's so many physical players in this Stoke side.
Yeah, Robert Huth has got those tree trunk legs. What do you call that thing you use to measure the width of a tree trunk with? A caliper, I think it is. Well, Robert Huth's legs would not get a low tree caliper measurement. He has got these enormous legs that, he uses them to powerfully leap in the air, but maybe they might hinder him when he tries to turn on a sixpence and someone like Tarabt puts the ball between those legs with a nutmeg. Queen's Park Rangers just play the ball over the top safely through to the possession of Thomas Sorensen, and it is 0-0 here. We're just seeing a picture on our screens of Mark Hughes. He's got his arms folded across his chest and he's got quite a stern expression and a look on his face. He knows his team really need to win this game today. Let's go back to the Reebok. Speaking of relegation threatened teams, Bolton at home to West Brom. Nigel Adley.
15 minutes played, it's 0-0. Bolton missed a great chance on 11 minutes. Martin Petrov swung a crossover from the left-hand side. It was missed at the near post by David and Gog, but Kevin Davis at the far post had a tight angle but lofted it high over the crossbar from 4 yards. At the other end, a far post header from Gareth McCauley for West Brom was kept out by the left hand of Adam Bogdan. 0-0.
Thanks, Nigel. A poor choice from Buzaki to try and send a pass towards Tarabt on the left-hand side. That brought groans out of the Queen's Park Rangers fans. Here comes Tarabt, though, through the centre, tried to pick out a run of Mackey, and it's well intercepted by Ryan Shawcross. We're going to go back to Villa Park. Pat Murphy.
It's 0-0 here, but Tottenham beginning to crank it up, although they were lucky perhaps not to concede a penalty. Ireland put Heskey through. Heskey advanced without a great deal of conviction. Kabul timed his tackle. The ball went clear. On another day, Lee Pruitt might have given that one. Villa 0, Tottenham 0.
Thanks, Pat. Buzaki, middle of midfield for Queen's Park Rangers, gives a short pass to Sean Derry. Nice little turn from Derry. Then not the best pass to Buzaki, who's got to go full stretch to keep possession with Queen's Park Rangers. Now this is Barton inside the centre circle. Crouch is doing a good closing down job on him, and Stoke getting all 11 men behind the ball and making it difficult for Queen's Park Rangers here. 0-0 still at Newcastle, 0-0 here at Loftus Road. Here comes the cross from Ferdinand. Now Zamora felt that he was being impeded in the air as he tried to jump for that. Nothing doing with Andre Mariner, and play continues as Stoke City clear the ball away.
Well, it's like Land of the Giants in that back four, isn't it, for Stoke? Zamora not getting any change at all. In fact, we've hardly seen anything of Zamora. Stoke really do look quite comfortable. They've set their stall out. They're big, physical, strong lads, and it's really the emphasis on QPR to try and break them down.
Queen's Park Rangers have had alternating fortunes in the last few weeks. A win has been followed by a defeat, then a win, then a defeat, and so on for 9 games in a row. But they have been winning their home games, and that's what Mark Hughes will want to see continue here. The ball is cleared away off the left foot of Anton Ferdinand. He was happy to just clear the lines. It's gone out for a Stoke City throw, and it's not close enough to the penalty area to bring Rory Delap into action, so Mark Wilson will take it from that right full-back position.
Yeah, that left-hand side for QPR with Tarat. Very good on the ball, but he's not doing a great deal defensively. Taiwo is really exposed down there.
Jonathan Walters playing this midfield role for Stoke today. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Did he stamp on the foot of Sean Derry? I think he was backing into Sean Derry and might have kicked back or stamped back, but whatever it was, the free kick has been awarded to Queen's Park Rangers inside their own half. 0-0 here at Loftus Road, and it's half-time now between Newcastle and title-chasing Manchester City. John Murray.
It's Newcastle 0, Manchester City 0. No goals, but it's been fascinating. Manchester City in control for most of the half. They've come closest to scoring. The double effort from Barry, the side foot shot that was initially blocked from Colaccini, came back to Barry, and his effort was cleared off the line. Newcastle have burst forward from time to time, but Manchester City, Phil Brown, have been the better team.
No doubt about it. But the one thing you can't forget is this is Newcastle United's last home game of the season. They want to put on a show, and I think they'll come out on the front foot in the second half. For some reason, Alan Pardew's gone up to Howard Webb at half time, and he's walked on the pitch to have a discussion with him. I don't know what that one's about, but the one thing we will say is there's been 5 yellow cards, and I think both of us would agree that they've been fairly harsh on maybe 2 or 3 occasions to issue yellow cards. Let's hope Howard Webb's not the talking point at the end of this game, because he's maybe just backing himself into a little bit of a corner by issuing too many yellow cards.
But at half time, it's Newcastle 0, Manchester City 0, in front of a crowd of 52,389, which is the biggest of the season here by 1.
Thank you, John and Phil. And Martin, a draw really of no use to Manchester City. I mean, that just hands the impetus back to Manchester United. If City draw, it becomes United's title to lose once more.
Yeah, definitely, that opens the door once more, doesn't it? They've got to cash in on that fantastic win against Manchester United on Monday night.
Here at Loftus Road, 0-0 between Queen's Park Rangers, just above the relegation zone, and Stoke City, who came into the match in 14th place. Norwich leapfrogged over them yesterday. They had been in 13th. Let's go back to the Reebok. Bolton, West Brom and Nigel Adderley.
Bolton inches away from conceding the opening goal. Shane Long turning David Wheater inside the penalty area, and his shot hit the inside of Adam Bogdan's left leg and struck the near post. As a response, David Ngog's downward header has just been palmed up in the air by Ben Foster. It's a very, very good game, but it's still goalless.
Bolton's last game of the season, by the way, is against Stoke City, who we're watching here at Loftus Road. So Tony Pulis and his team are going to have a very big say in the relegation outcome, because here they are up against Queen's Park Rangers today and then Bolton next weekend. 2 short throws in a row from Rory Delap. That's a collector's item as Fuller tries to turn down by the byline left hand side. He did get a cross in, but it wasn't threatening. It was low and cleared away by the first defender, Anua. This is Glenn Whelan, who's back in the team today, having started on the bench against Everton on Tuesday. Fuller collects it on the left, Barton tackles him, and the ball goes out for another Rory Delap throw. Now, I'm sure some statistician somewhere will know if Rory Delap has ever taken 3 short throws in a row level with the corner of the penalty area. I doubt it, but we'll find out here. He's giving it the big wipe on the jersey. No teammate is running for the short option, so here it is, launched in. Zamora gets up, no touch from in. Clint Hill does head it down, maybe there for Fuller. Stoke want a penalty, Fuller went to ground. The referee is not interested. Play on, and Queen's Park Rangers do play on over the halfway line. Tarapt with long strides just to the edge of the penalty area, tries a crack at goal, and it comes away. We mentioned those big legs of Rubber Tooth. He's blocked the ball and Stoke survive. Whelan collects it on the halfway line. He might have handled the ball. Now Barton goes in, shoulder with Fuller, wins possession. Great atmosphere here now. Barton sends in the cross and Wilson clears it away. It feels like it's win or bust now at Loftus Road as we go back for a penalty at the Reebok and Nigel Adderley.
And it's a penalty to Bolton Wanderers. Kevin Davis making a nuisance of himself inside the penalty area, and Mark Davis tried to seize on a loose ball. Keith Andrews slid in and Davis was marginally caught just before Andrews got a toe on the ball. West Bromwich Albion very unhappy about the award. Chris Brunt, their captain, is having a long conversation with Kevin Friend, and moments after Shane Long hit the post for West Bromwich Albion, Martin Petrov will take the penalty for Bolton Wanderers. This is a huge moment in the relegation battle at the bottom of the Premier League. Petrov is being made to wait by Kevin Friend. The West Bromwich Albion players have had a couple of words as well. Ben Foster waits on his line, and Kevin Friend making sure every single player apart from Petrov and Foster are outside the penalty area. Petrov steps up left-footed and he scores a brilliant penalty low to the goalkeeper's right hand side, right in the corner. Petrov celebrates and Bolton celebrate. They've taken the lead and they could be on their way out of the relegation zone. 1-0.
Thank you, Nigel. As things stand, Bolton will be moving ahead of Queen's Park Rangers and out of the bottom 3 tonight. That is as things stand, with a quarter of the 2 o'clock kickoffs now having been played. We've played 24 minutes. We've had goals at the Reebok and at Craven Cottage, 1-0 to the home side in both of those games, And all the other Premier League matches taking place today are at 0-0 for now. Big moment that, though, Martin Keown, with Bolton, who, very much like Queen's Park Rangers, have to win today.
Yeah, that goal coming, a little bit of a din in the crowd at the time, because they really are taking the game to Stoke at the moment.
Queen's Park Rangers have a free kick in an attacking position. Wide on the left-hand side. Tarap swings it in towards Sorensen, punches the ball under quite a bit of pressure, and it goes off the gloves of the goalkeeper and out for a throw-in right down by the corner flag on the right-hand side. Decent delivery again from Tarap.
It was, but it looked a very nervy punch, didn't it? Just sort of scuffed it away, and that's crumb of comfort for the QPR players, that the goalkeeper Sorensen maybe a bit rusty.
Yeah, he's not played much recently. Begovic has been first choice. There had been discussions a week or so ago that Tony Pulis was going to bring in Sorensen for a bit of match practice ahead of the European Championships, when he'll be playing for Denmark. He's done well here under pressure. He's caught the ball in the air. He's looking for his first clean sheet in the last 7 games that he's played for Stoke, is Thomas Sorensen. So 0-0 it is here, 0-0 between Newcastle and Manchester City, half-time, and that slightly earlier kick-off today. That one started at 1:30. Most of the games, such as this one, 2 o'clock starts. And don't forget, coming up later on at 4 p.m. from Old Trafford, Manchester United against Swansea. Full commentary, Alan Green, Mike Ingham and Danny Mills here on 5 Live. Delap comes across to take another throw-in left-hand side for Stoke. Look at Crouch, immediately puts the head down and runs towards the far post. And again, it's a short throw. Delap to Huth, and a terrible cross, scuffed it off the outside of his left boot, and it's a bit of a wasted opportunity for Stoke.
Well, that was a hoof, wasn't it, with his left foot there. Just interesting, every time the game seems to stop, it seems to end up with a Delap throw, doesn't it? You know, he's got this lining, this special lining on the inside of his shirt. I wonder if that's legal or not. And he's got a big grin on his face every time he throws it in.
Well, it'll certainly keep you warm on the cold days in English football, and as you pointed out before kick-off, Martin, we're into May now, and look around the stadium here at Loftus Road. Everyone's got the heavy coats on, gloves, scarves everywhere. So much for the English summer. Here comes Walters through the centre of midfield for Stoke, and it wasn't the best pass out towards Fuller on the left-hand side. This new formation with Walters and Jerome and Fuller and Crouch and all these strikers, what have you made of how they've connected so far?
I've been very impressed, and I'm sure Tony Pulis is as well. Walters is a player that's playing quite high at times in that midfield. Whenever QPR get the ball at the back, he goes in and presses. And then, of course, when they're a little bit deeper, he comes in and plays as well. So he does that role very well, and he's very workmanlike in his performance.
Flicked on by Jerome into the Queen's Park Rangers penalty area, but Clint Hill, who's a former Stoke player, clears the ball out for a throw-in.
Been impressed with him, actually. He's got his head on a few things, and you're going to be, there's another throw-in again here.
I wonder, sorry to interrupt, Martin, I wonder did Clint Hill think this through. He had a bit more time there. He might have been able to clear that away a bit further down the pitch. And now he's sort of given it right to the Delap perfect position, if you like, level with the edge of the penalty area. He's wiped it on the insulated inside of his jersey. Here comes the throw into the box, and it's Clint Hill himself who heads it away, only as far as Delap. Good header back into the box, and then a whistle from the referee, a push in there from Shawcross, and that relieves the pressure for Queen's Park Rangers, and a free kick for them inside their own penalty area. Clint Hill played 80 times in the league for Stoke, scored 3 goals, all quite a long time ago. He's been around a few different clubs. He was at Crystal Palace, and he travelled from there to here to Loftus Road with Neil Warnock when Neil Warnock came here to join the club. So we've kept you right up to date with events of the Premier League. 0-0 at half-time. Been the big one, if you like, Newcastle against Manchester City. 0-0 here towards the bottom of the table, with Queen's Park Rangers, who could be slipping back into the bottom 3 because Bolton are in front of the Reebok against West Brom. It's about time we checked in with the Clydesdale Bank Scottish Premier League. Dundee United against Celtic. Dundee United hoping to seal a European place. Roddy Forsyth is there.
Yeah, well, they're 5 minutes away from that, although they're under pressure from Celtic at this moment. They're leading by that first half goal by Scott Robertson, and of course, remember, if they do achieve this, they'll be in the same Europa League qualifying round as Liverpool.
Thank you very much, Roddy. Yes, Stoke City, of course, know all about the Europa League. They took part in that this season, and it certainly added a lot of miles on the clock in terms of the games. And maybe, actually, we mentioned this sort of disappointing end to the season for Stoke, Martin. Maybe that contributed a lot to it. They played so many games at the start in Europe.
Yeah, they've played more games, I think, than they've ever played in their lives, haven't they, Stoke? So, no, it's some interesting battles. I mean, there's another free kick here to Tarap
from the left-hand side. He sent it very deep picked out Barton in the penalty area. Barton tried to crash it in low and hard, and well defended once again by that burly figure of Robert Huth, and he puts it out for a throw-in to Queen's Park Rangers, close to the corner flag on the right hand side, taken by Barton to Nedamanua, former Manchester City player, who of course Queen's Park Rangers playing against Manchester City next weekend.
Another thumping challenge there from Huth, wasn't it? I have to say Upson is totally dominating Zamora. He's head and shoulders of him. Every time the ball comes in, he's winning everything.
Here he is again, up over the top, and a fair challenge. This is Tirapt, dummies a shot with the left boot. That bought him a bit of time. Now he's onto the right foot, drills it in low. Guess who blocked it? Robert Huth. Mackey tries to follow up, and again, last touch came off Mackey. That will be a goal kick. It is still Queen's Park Rangers 0, Stoke City 0, but there's been plenty of chances here in the opening half hour.
Yeah, Tirapt, I mean, listen, he's a box of tricks. They just can't get tight to him, can they? Yeah, another shot at goal, and the follow-up, just looking at Delap there, lunging in, and Mackey might well have gone down there.
This is 5 Live from the BBC. We're live at Loftus Road in West London. Queen's Park Rangers 0, Stoke City 0. Let's check back with Villa Park. Aston Villa against Tottenham. Pat Murphy.
It's 0-0 here. A few shots across the bows from Tottenham. Just now Lennon to Van der Vaart. Bale headed over the bar. Before that, a devastatingly swift counter-attack. Bale again. Van der Vaart ended offside though, but a warning to Villa. Villa 0, Tottenham 0.
Thanks very much, Pat. Here come Queen's Park Rangers with Tirapt, taken down on the edge of the penalty area. Referee says no free kick.
Yeah, it was a free kick for me. Fuller's just pushed him to the ground.
I thought so, because I think Tirapt would have been into the box had he not gone to ground, so no advantage to a dive in that sort of location. Ball played forward by Barton. Zamora might have been fouled, but holds on to possession. Picks out Bazaki. It's on his less favourite left boot. Gives it to Zamora. Inside the D now. Upson just stands off for once. Now Barton goes for goal. It was dipping, but not dipping fast enough. And it goes over the crossbar for a goal kick.
Yeah, played into Zamora on the edge of the box. Just holding it up, showing his strength. Joey Barton sort of on the angle, left-hand side of the box. Tries to whip it into that corner, but just too much on it.
So at the moment, as things stand in the Premier League, at the top, if Manchester City draw, it's 0-0 at half-time against Newcastle. They'll go to 84 points. Manchester United on 83 to kick off at 4 o'clock against Swansea. Full commentary to come here on 5 Live. In the race for the Champions League places, Tottenham level at the moment, so they'd go up to 66 points. Newcastle level at the moment, so they'd go up to 66 points. So no real change there. At the bottom, Bolton are in front, last we heard from the Reebok against West Brom, so they, as things stand, would move ahead of Queen's Park Rangers, who are currently being held to a 0-0 draw here at Loftus Road. That is how things stand in Barclays Premier League at the moment. Throw into Queen's Park Rangers on the right hand side. Nedamanua takes it, short to Barton, gives it back out to Anua, and on his left boot he sends in a cross which Upson can only get the barest touch of his forehead on, but it was enough to divert the ball away from Zamora, and Sorensen can come out and collect. And that Stoke City defence continues to stand firm.
Yeah, and I think, when they get in at half-time, you may see an even bigger emphasis from QPR if they hear that result up at Bolton.
We're watching Bobby Zamora here for Queen's Park Rangers leading the line. And more on him in a moment. Crouch is trying to get in around the back of Anton Ferdinand, and he manages to do so. Gives it out to Walters. Here comes the cross. Cameron Jerome gets up, tries to win the header. That was excellent defending from Nedamanua. Fuller picks up possession, and because of a head injury to Cameron Jerome, the referee has stopped play with Stoke City on the attack. But Jerome was lying on the ground. It was definitely a knock to the head, and the referee didn't have much option but to stop play. Just on Bobby Zamora, Martin Keown, Zamora was a favourite of Roy Hodgson's when they were both at Fulham. Yes. The fact that Hodgson has now got the England job, does that increase the chances of Zamora perhaps being a late run into the England squad for the Euros?
Yes, it probably increases that type of player, whether Zamora is the best currently on offer to him. But Roy Hodgson likes that type of player, has been a big fan of Zamora. I just don't think he's in quite the form he was when he was playing for Fulham.
No. He's not quite kept up the ratio of goals since coming here to Queen's Park Rangers, mind you, playing in a team that have been in the relegation zone for much of that time. Cameron Jerome is still receiving treatment. He's okay, he's sitting up, he's having a drink, and in fact the other players have all made their way towards the technical areas as well to try and get some liquids on board. 0-0 remains to score 10 minutes to half time.
It's almost like a timeout in basketball, isn't it?
Yeah.
7 or 8 of the QPR players coming over to Mark Hughes, finding out instructions.
So what's the coach saying?
Well, hopefully he hasn't told them that Bolton are winning and they need to start pulling their finger out. I think that'll come at half-time.
Do you think Mark Hughes will know that Bolton are in front? Will he have instructed someone to tell him?
So difficult, isn't it, to keep that away from the players.
Let's go here for goal in the Premier League to Craven Cottage. Fulham against Sunderland. David Oates.
And it's a Sunderland equaliser, and what a magnificent strike it was from Phil Bardsley. I didn't see that coming, and I don't think Mark Schwarzer saw it coming either. It nestled into his bottom left-hand corner from fully 30 yards. Really put his foot through the ball. One apiece.
Chance for Queen's Park Rangers. Here comes Zamora down the right-hand side. Gets to the byline. Turns now into the penalty area. In comes the cross. Very good header from Barton, but straight at the goalkeeper Sorensen. Barton did well because he had to really leap. It was a little bit too high for him, but he got it down on target, but just too close to the keeper.
Well, mistake from Upson. You have to credit there Zamora, closing him down, running into the channel, and then just digs it up, doesn't he? Lovely ball into Joey Barton. He just couldn't, straight at the keeper, he couldn't guide it either side of him.
I was here not so long ago when Joey Barton scored against Swansea at Loftus Road. There's another goal for David Oates at Craven Cottage.
And Fulham are back in the lead. Just lasted 60 seconds, that equaliser, that parity. Moussa Dembele, again from outside the penalty area. In fairness, this one took a wicked deflection over Mignolet, and Fulham have the lead again. Fulham 2, Sunderland 1.
And a goal at Aston Villa, Pat Murphy.
It's gone to Aston Villa against the run of the play. Kieran Clark, the scorer, took a dip 25 yards out, got a deflection, possibly actually off Warnock. His teammate will clear that up, but more importantly, Villa lead 1-0. Thank you, Pat. Well, that's got significance at both ends of the table, of course. Aston Villa want to steer clear of the mess below them. And I can tell you they've just kicked off again for the second half between Newcastle and Manchester City. 0-0 the scoreline there after the first 45 minutes. But Tottenham behind. That's an even greater incentive, Martin Keown, for Newcastle to beat Manchester City now and move up into the top 4.
Well, the results are perfect for Newcastle, but they're playing against Man City. So they've done incredibly well, haven't they, Newcastle, to get into this position.
Of course, top 4, and I mean the Champions League places, it'll be top 3 as well ahead of Arsenal. And of course, top 3 might be what the Champions League places become should Chelsea win the Champions League final. Jerome here clears the ball away for Stoke. Crouch is going to chase it, but he won't get there ahead of the touchline, and the ball goes out for a throw into Queen's Park Rangers inside their own half. Mark Hughes is up out on the edge of the technical area, and with every passing minute I think he's getting a little bit more agitated. This game is a must-win for Queen's Park Rangers. We've had that Joey Barton header. Apart from that, Martin Keown, maybe they need to test the keeper a bit more.
Yeah, and it's just, I think his hoof is particularly annoyed with on Mackie.
Here comes a cross from Tarapt and cleared away by Shawcross for a throw.
They are testing them now, though, a little bit more. They don't look nearly as comfortable, do they, Stoke? Suddenly, Zamora then coming into the game much more.
A Nua's throw-in. Takes out Dozaki. Corner angle of the penalty area, right-hand side. Queen's Park Rangers playing left to right as we look down. Here is Tarapt, who's got loads of tricks, dances a jig in front of Rory Delap, who ignores all of that and just takes the ball off it. Crouch does well to slide in and win it back, and he's been fouled as well, so a free kick to Stoke. And the visitors take it quickly. Whelan to the far side, to Mark Wilson, allowed to run deep into the Queen's Park Rangers half, and then a good block by Joey Barton makes sure that he can't cross the ball into the penalty area. It's all over now at Dundee United. Back to Roddy Fasai.
Yes, Dundee United 1, Celtic 0. Scott Robertson's goal midway through the first half made sure that Dundee United are in the Europa League third qualifying round, and that's the same as Liverpool. 1-0 Dundee United over Celtic.
Thanks very much, Roddy. Don't forget, coming up at 4 o'clock, Manchester United against Swansea. Full commentary here on 5 Live. Mackie for Queen's Park Rangers, trying to jink in off the touchline right-hand side, but he ran into Upson first and then into Huth. And the ball has now gone out, and the referee gives the throw into Stoke, to the uproarious response of the Queen's Park Rangers fans, who are not happy with the officials here at all.
Well, I think they have a little bit of a case there, don't they? You know, that's 2 or 3 now. They're starting to wonder. Mariner missing things. And this has definitely come off a Stoke player.
Yeah, I can see
100%.
why. I can see why the referee thinks that Mackie touched it, because Mackie lunged in, but how his assistant, who's in front and maybe 3 feet away from the ball, doesn't see that, I'm really not sure. And Mark Hughes just gives a little rueful shake of the head. He doesn't want this to be one of those days where little silly things go against them. Not today, not in the last home game of the season. not with the club potentially going back into the relegation zone tonight.
With the ground being so small here, it's like everybody's an expert because you can see everything, can't you? You're so close to the action. When the referee gets it wrong, they feel he's Delap now. They're moaning because they think he's time wasting.
Rory Delap has come across to take a throw in, as he does, and he's just kind of gone down on his hunches on the way. And
I think he needs treatment on his biceps here, the amount of throw-ins he's taken.
The throw is taken down the left-hand side to Ricardo Fuller, close to the corner flag. Barton is the defender near him, and ironic cheers towards the officials as they now give the throw in the correct way. As things stand at the moment in the Premier League table, Manchester City being held to a draw away at Newcastle. A draw would see them move 1 point ahead of Manchester United for now, but Manchester United could then go to the top of the table later on in that 4 o'clock kickoff against Swansea. And Newcastle with the incentive to win that game because they could move ahead of both Tottenham and Arsenal should they manage to do so. Tottenham trailing at Villa Park, the last we heard from Pat Murphy. Bolton leading against West Brom at the Reebok. Fulham 2-1 in front against Craven Cottage, against Sunderland at Craven Cottage, and a substitution has been prepared here. And this is very interesting. Rory Delap, who we said had been sort of nursing an injury, the referee stopped play, the fourth official held up the board, and then as Dean Whitehead was preparing to come on, Tony Pulis came across, tapped the fourth official on the shoulder, said no, I don't want to make the change now. And I think he's just hoping that Rory Delap is okay to continue. We've got to go back to John Murray at Newcastle.
It's okay, there are no goals. It's Newcastle 0, Manchester City 0 with 5 minutes into the second half, and Manchester City have got a free kick on the edge of the area. Yaya Toure is going to take it. It'll be 25 yards out plus, so he's just waiting to do that. Here he comes now. Yaya Toure strikes it over the wall, but over the bar as well. So Phil Brown's watching with me. Would anything struck you so far in the second half, Phil?
Well, one thing struck me in the statistics before the game. Man City have not scored a goal from a free kick so far this season. That's unbelievable when you think from the league perspective. However, they've scored 61 of their 88 goals from open play. We haven't seen too much flair in the City team, too many great chances, but you know, with the game going longer and longer, if you get to the 60, 70th minute, everything opens up then, and that's when the flair players start taking a hold of it.
So at Newcastle 0, Manchester City 0, with Tottenham losing, Newcastle would be going back into fourth, and for Manchester City it's not good enough. They've got to win, otherwise the Premier League will be back in Newcastle's hands.
Thanks very much, John. Tell you what, Phil Brown's done his homework. You hear him there reeling out the statistics. Hope you've got those under your sleeve, Martin Keown, when they're required here at Loftus Road. I'll tell you one statistic I'd like to know. How many fingernails have been bitten at Newcastle against Manchester City?
It's strange there. I was looking at Delap. They nearly made that change, didn't they? Whitehead getting stripped off. Suddenly Delap staying on the pitch. I think it's fatigue. I think Delap is so... Well, he's not played a great deal of football maybe recently, and
sorry to interrupt. Rory Delap was an injury doubt coming into this game. I was at the Britannia on Tuesday, and he went off in the second half against Everton, and he was one of those players who Tony Pulis in the press conference on Friday said, well, we're going to have to monitor him over the weekend. So maybe they thought that had sort of resurfaced, and now they want to give him perhaps until half time. We've only got 2 minutes.
He's got a little bit of maybe a little bit of a calf because he keeps on sort of stretching that area, but to me he looks as if he's fine to carry on.
0-0 between Queen's Park Rangers and Stoke City. So the latest elsewhere, 0-0 between Newcastle and Manchester City. That was the 1:30 kickoff. Aston Villa are leading Spurs by 1-0. It's Bolton 1, West Brom 0. If it stays like that and stays as it is here, Bolton will be moving out of the relegation zone tonight. Fulham leads Sunderland by 2-1, and there are no goals at Molineux, where Everton are in town against Wolves. Don't forget Manchester United against Swansea coming up at 4. Free kick to Queen's Park Rangers. Taarabt plays it in low, flicked on though by Jamie Mackey at the front post. Sean Derry tries to help it on, but there'd been a foul on Peter Crouch, and that means a free kick out for Stoke City. And I think Sean Derry was the man who had nudged into Crouch and sent him tumbling to the floor.
Yeah, it's an awful free kick, isn't it? And it's sort of flicked up in the air, it's hanging over Crouch, and then Derry making the foul.
Just mentioning there with Fulham leading Sunderland by 2-1. Sunderland are the other team who could play a big part in the title race, because they face Manchester United next weekend at the Stadium of Light, and their form will be a big factor that will be discussed during the week if that title race remains close after the activity today. Remember, 0-0 at the moment between Newcastle and Manchester City. We'll be straight back to John and Phil if there are any developments there. Free kick here to Queen's Park Rangers. In fact, Anua Sorry, it's a throw-in. And Nua preparing to take it just inside his own half. And he doesn't have too many options at the moment. Tries to give it long, and it's intercepted by Fuller for Stoke. Helped on by Walters. Bit of head tennis with Peter Crouch. Now it's bobbling on the deck. And Crouch and Anua get in a tangle, and I think Anua was fouling Peter Crouch there. Referee says it will be a free kick to Stoke. I think he's got that right.
Well, Crouch is so big, and we're so close to the action. I could hardly see Anua there. He just almost suffocated him.
So Glenn Whelan prepares to take the free kick. It's less than 10 yards inside the Queen's Park Rangers half, but all of Mark Hughes' players are back behind the ball, all of them in their final third. 2 minutes to be added on for stoppages. Here comes the free kick. Whelan floats it in, and Nua wins it in the air, and now Zamora's left to mop up the pieces, and he does so down by the corner flag and just launches the ball back up towards the halfway line, where it's won by Rory Delap in the air. Nice little flick on by Shawcross, but no teammate to take advantage. Now this is a chance of a counter-attack. It's 5-on-4 if Queen's Park Rangers can be quick enough. That's well worked to Taiwo on the left-hand side. Gives it back into Barton. Stoke have now got plenty of defenders back. Here's Tarab. Lovely first touch away from the first defender. Then he gives it in, and Shawcross was always the favourite to come out and win the ball ahead of Mackie. It was brave goalkeeping, and it remains Queen's Park Rangers 0, Stoke City 0.
Yeah, I think their best action is coming from Tarapt. You know, when he runs at that back four, he moves the ball so quickly, and Mackie is a willing runner, and he's very close to getting on the end of that.
Stoke have only scored 11 times away from home in the Premier League this season, and that's fewer than any other side in the top flight. Very much they've made the Britannia a fortress, of course, but they've not got many goals away from home. 0-0 here in the first half. Here's Mackie on the right hand side. Crouch doing his defensive shift to try and put him up. Now the linesman had indicated that he thought that Mackie had been fouled. The referee wants play to continue. Queen's Park Rangers still have the ball. Tarapt, 3 or 4 step overs. Now the cross bounces once and into the arms of Sorensen. It just needed someone to attack the front post.
Yeah, Zamora there just not able to get across the first defender, but Tarapt again, fantastic work down this right hand side this time. They really can't deal with him.
So at the moment, with Aston Villa leading and Bolton leading, and it being a 0-0 draw here, the bottom of the Premier League table looks like this. Wolves, of course, already relegated. Blackburn, who play tomorrow, 31 points. Queen's Park Rangers, as things stand, on 35 points. Those are the bottom 3, with Bolton just above on 37 points, along with Wigan, and Villa would move up to 40 if things stay as they are. Andre Mariners brought this first half to an end. It's been tight, it's been cagey, it's been nervy, and it could still go either way, Martin Keown.
It could, and I think, you know, the best has to come later, doesn't it, for QPR? They'll know now the half-time results. I feel certain that Mark Hughes will be getting into his players at half-time and be much more attacking from QPR in the second half.
Look back over the chances. Joey Barton's header. There was a bit of a daisy cutter from Tarapt. That's sort of been it for Queen's Park Rangers.
Yeah, Sorensen early on was a bit nervy. He's grown into the game, so they need to test him a little bit more in the second half.
As things stand, Queen's Park Rangers are heading back into the relegation zone, but they've got 45 minutes to put things straight at the break. Queen's Park Rangers 0, Stoke City 0.
Thank you very much indeed. This is Ian Payne at Old Trafford. Let's immediately catch up on events at, I keep saying St James's Park, can't help it. Sports Direct, Newcastle, Man City, John Murray.
I won't hold that against you, Ian. It's 0-0 here. 12 minutes played in the second half between Newcastle and Manchester City. Fascinating with Spurs behind at Aston Villa, bearing in mind Newcastle's ambitions of finishing in the top 4. But Manchester City, remember, have got to win this game or the pendulum swing back towards Manchester United. And at the moment, I would say it's a similar pattern, Phil Brown, to the game that we watched in the first half.
Very, very much so. We're 60 minutes nearly on the clock now, and the game's still very, very tight. It hasn't opened up at all, and you're waiting for that moment for it to open up, or some bit of quality from one of the Flair players, and that hasn't happened neither. So, you know, Cissy and Barn a different page there. All of a sudden, you would expect them to be on the same page, same wavelength, but it's just not happening at the moment.
It's 0-0, but it's one of those 0-0s you just can't take your eyes off.
Half-time at Bolton, Nigel Adderley.
Bolton lead West Bromwich Albion by a 1-0. The penalty for Martin Petrov. This after West Brom made the brighter start to the game, of course, playing without any sort of pressure. Bolton looked very edgy. The key moment for West Brom, Shane Long turning David Wheater inside the penalty area. His shot hit the inside of Adam Bogdan's left leg and bobbled against the near post, but within 2 minutes, on 24 minutes, Bolton were ahead. Kevin Davis's muscle creating a real jumble of arms and legs inside the penalty area, and Mark Davis was caught by a combination of Keith Andrews and Yusuf Malumbu. Kevin Friend, well positioned, had no doubts, and very quickly gave the penalty, dispatched superbly by Martin Petrov. And at half-time, they've been edgy, and I'm sure they'll get even more nervous. Bolton lead by a 1-0 and are heading out of the relegation zone.
Also a 2 o'clock kick-off, Fulham against Sunderland. David Oates.
It's Fulham 2, Sunderland 1. Early chance for Fulham. Duff, but a fine save from Mignolet, but it didn't take Fulham long to take the lead. 11 minutes, Clint Dempsey with his 17th of the season, perfectly struck 25-yard free kick. That was 1-0. Sessignon almost equalised. Sunderland eventually got their equaliser 12 minutes before the break. Ferocious 25-yarder into the bottom corner from Phil Bardsley, but within 60 seconds, Moussa Dembélé with a deflected 20-yard shot which looped over Mignolet to restore Fulham's advantage. Fulham 2, Sunderland 1.
Half-time and already relegated Wolves. They're playing Everton. Mike Sewell.
It's Wolves 0, Everton 0. The absence of any worries or pressure has given this game a relaxed air, although Everton have had the ball in the Wolves net. Jelavic scoring, but was marginally offside from Pinar's pass. Both Pinar and Hunt have blazed over when in good opportunities, and Christoph Berra has also headed just over at the far post from a cross from the right wing. It's Wolves 0, Everton 0.
Thank you very much indeed. We're building up to Manchester United against Swansea at Old Trafford. It's a 4 o'clock kick-off. So Wolves against Everton half-time. Fulham against Sunderland. It's Fulham 2-1 up. Aston Villa against Spurs, with Aston Villa leading by that goal from Kieran Clark in the first half. And Bolton, thanks to that Petrov penalty, are 1-0 up. It's half-time now at Villa Park against Spurs. Pat Murphy.
Villa lead 1-0. A fortuitous goal, although well played. Kieran Clark, he had the dip from 25 yards out, went in off the shoulder of William Gallas. After that, Tottenham really cranked up the pressure. Bale a great shot, superb save by Given High to his right. Van der Vaart a volley 25 yards, curved in just wide again. There were 8 corners, Villa have had 3. Harry Redknapp will be furious at half-time. Villa lead Tottenham 1-0.
Looks like it's Mancini making the first move. Samir Nasri is coming off and Nigel de Jong is coming on. Interesting. It's still Newcastle 0, Manchester City 0. 61 minutes and 25 seconds gone in that game. Queen's Park Rangers against Stoke, Bolton against West Brom, Aston Villa Spurs, Fulham Sunderland, Wolves against Everton. Second half of those games to come. And then from here at Old Trafford, it'll be Manchester United against Swansea. I wonder what they think they'll have to do. Certainly win against Swansea if they're to get back to the top of the table, unless City can score a goal in the next half an hour. Earlier today, Dundee United beat Celtic by a 1-0. Scott Robertson scoring in the first half. It means Dundee United will be in the Europa League third qualifying round like Liverpool. Hearts against St Johnstone. That game kicking off at 3 o'clock in about 7 minutes time. Let's get the latest 5 Live news headlines from Claire McDonnell.
Online at bbc.co.uk/5live.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
The Chancellor, George Osborne, says his party needs to listen to voters' concerns after the Tories' poor showing in the local elections. He also rejected criticism of the leadership by some Conservative MPs and said fixing the deficit would continue to be his top priority. A British tourist has died after reportedly falling from a hotel balcony in Mallorca, the third Briton to die on the Spanish island in less than a month. Charlotte Farris fell in the early hours of yesterday morning in Magaluf. The people of France are choosing their next president between the incumbent Nicolas Sarkozy and the socialist challenger François Hollande. Both contenders say the result is too close to call, so are urging their supporters to vote. A 23-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of murder after an assault at a takeaway in Blackpool. Police believe Ricky Guest Binns was attacked after intervening in an argument between a customer and a member of staff at the restaurant. And head teachers have accused England's Chief Inspector of Schools of bully boy tactics against their profession. At their annual conference in Harrogate, the National Association of Head Teachers said it would have expected more from Sir Michael Wilshaw, a former head himself. That's the 5 Live News. Let's get the travel now with Orla Merchant.
Thank you very much, Claire. We're moving well at the moment, looking at the speed sensors and the motorway network on the move for the biggest part, really. The M6, even where we've got that lane closure in place between Junction 8, where it links with the M5, and Junction 7 at Great Bar, through the roadwork section, traffic is on the move. And in Bedfordshire, the M1, where the long-term roadworks are, and the contraflow between Junction 10 at Luton Airport and 13 at Bedford, again the same. The Windsor and Eton Relief Road, southbound, one of the lanes has had to be closed to deal with an accident between the M4 at Junction 6 and the A308 at Maidenhead. And in Hammersmith in London, the A4, the eastbound side, a vehicle broke down earlier on. No lanes are closed, but traffic's queuing back to Chiswick. Orla Merchant, 5 Live Travel.
Not just cricket.
As a kid, I never grew up pretending I wanted to play cricket. I obviously loved cricket, but I wanted to be, in a band or an astronaut.
Greg James, Jimmy Anderson and Graham Swan.
It's actually quite technical, but when you miss the ball, it generally hits the stumps. And we were missing the ball quite a lot.
Not just cricket.
As we look back at England's tours against Pakistan and Sri Lanka.
And look ahead to a bumper summer of cricket.
And they were pushed right to the limit tonight. England have won this match by 5 runs.
Bank Holiday Monday from 2 on 5 Live.
This is 5 Live Sport with Ian Payne.
If results stay as they are at half-time in all the 2 o'clock kickoffs, Blackburn can be relegated tomorrow, Monday, 8 o'clock kickoff. Coverage on 5 Live from 7 o'clock. Bottom of the table looks like this. Wolves are down. Blackburn played 36, 31 points. QPR now in the bottom 3. Played 37 if it stays like this, 35. Bolton out of the bottom 3 if it stays like this. Played 37, 37. Wigan, who play Blackburn tomorrow, played 36, 37. Aston Villa, who are winning against Tottenham by a goal to nil, played 37, 40 points. At the top of the table, Manchester City, if it stays like this, played 37, 84 points. It's 0-0 still with Newcastle after 65 minutes. Manchester United yet to play here against Swansea. Full commentary to come from 4. Played 36, 1 point behind, 83 points, but their goal difference is 8 worse. Arsenal played 37, 67 points. Newcastle will have played 37, 66 points, and Tottenham played 37, 65 points. What an end to the season. Danny Mills is alongside me, used to play for many clubs including Manchester City. What have you made of Newcastle against Manchester City, first of all, Danny?
Well, it was always going to be a tough game. I believe that City would win the game. St James's Park has been a pretty much of a fortress this year. Newcastle have done incredibly well, and of course they're chasing that 4th Champions League spot, depending on what happens with Chelsea in the final. But they've got to do everything they possibly can. Just so far, the second half, no real great chances as yet. And of course, I think at the moment, City maybe just looking a little bit nervous, not quite dealing with that pressure, and having to go out and win.
Yeah, they had a half chance, and Newcastle on the attack again. What did you make of that substitution? Brings off Nasri, brings on De Jong. Is that to free up Yaya Toure?
I think it must be, because on the face of it looks like a defensive substitution, but I think as time goes on in this game, City are going to have to push on. You have to assume that Manchester United will win here today against Swansea, although we've done that before this season, and it hasn't quite worked. But I think that will also release the 2 fullbacks that can then start bombing forward, because realistically I think if City win the game today at Newcastle, that puts them not only in pole position, but I believe that will almost clinch the title for them.
What about the race for the other Champions League places? Arsenal played 37, 67 points. Stays like this, Newcastle will have 1 game to go, 66. Tottenham 1 game to go, 65.
Well, again, it's incredible. You assumed before yesterday, that Arsenal 3rd place, they were home and dry, and suddenly, pegged back by Norwich, incredible 3-3er. And then today, Tottenham losing currently at the moment. Newcastle, getting a point. It's going to go down to the very, very last game. But, for me, again, Newcastle in the box seat. If they can get a draw today against City, no reason why, obviously, they shouldn't win the last game of the season.
Mancini and David Platt in earnest conversation. They're about to make their 2nd substitution. It looked like Dzeko's going to come on. Any idea who he might take off in his place?
No, not really. Could easily be a midfield player. Really, City have to go for it. A draw isn't good enough, I don't believe. And if they don't win here today, don't win at St James's Park, and Manchester United win here against Swansea, obviously there'll be a huge swing, and I think that will almost be the title for United. Having said that, in this season where it's been so topsy-turvy, ups and downs all over the place and surprises, there'll obviously be a twist or two even in the final day.
Absolutely breathless stuff. Let's take a slight pause for some quiet at the Crucible, the final between O'Sullivan and Carter. Philip Studd.
O'Sullivan leading Carter by 2-0 in the early stages here. Packed Crucible House, of course, a real sense of anticipation. O'Sullivan the hot favourite, but Carter's a tougher nut to crack than he was 4 years ago when he was heavily beaten by the Rocket in the final here. But O'Sullivan has the advantage early on. Took nearly 12 minutes for the first red to disappear, and then Carter was a bit unlucky. He potted a blue off its spot, split the pack of reds, but a red dropped in as well. Foul, 4 away. O'Sullivan made a break of 56, and he's followed that up with his first century of the match, 117 to move, 2 clear. Very early stages, but Carter, you'd think, must stay with O'Sullivan early on. Otherwise, well, it could be all over bar the shouting. 2-0, 18 is the target, 6 more this afternoon.
Bank holiday means they will go on tomorrow as well. You can watch it on BBC Two and BBC Online. So Dzeko has come on. Who has taken his place? John Murray.
Well, it's Dzeko on for Carlos Tevez as Yaya Toure hits a shot and scores! Yaya Toure has pulled out the goal that Manchester City craved. A right foot shot from 25 yards into the bottom corner. And Manchester City are now where they want to be, in front, on Tyneside, against Newcastle, and still in the driving seat.
John, it was the first substitution, not the second one. We're just about to tell you about Carlos Tevez coming off for Edin Dzeko, but it was the first substitution. When he brought Nigel de Jong on, it looks like a negative move, but it didn't. It freed Yaya Toure up into that pocket, and it's almost gone into a 4-2-3-1 with him playing behind the single striker. And obviously, he's picked the ball up in that position, and what a great goal. Fantastic finish. Puts Manchester City in the driving seat now.
Well, one of the key men for Manchester City scored the goal that beat Manchester United on Monday, Vincent Kompany, and another of their top front liners has scored the goal that's put them in front here on Tyneside. Yaya Toure. It's Newcastle 0, Manchester City 1, and there are 20 minutes to go.
Danny Mills, substitution genius was that?
Well, I think, as Phil Brand intimated to, and you said also, Nigel de Jong coming on has allowed Yaya Toure to get a little bit further forward up the pitch, played a nice little 1-2 and a very, very cultured finish. Didn't try and smash it, just bent it into the far corner. Tim Krul had no chance, and it's going to be very, very interesting now. City will undoubtedly get a bit nervy, and it all obviously depends if Newcastle go for it, which they have to, because now I think that could well drop them a place down out of the Champions League spots.
There are not many people within the Theatre of Dreams yet, but those that are here wearing the red shirts, and most of them are, just shaking their head as that news begins to filter its way round very slowly around this stadium. We're less than 15 minutes away, meanwhile, from the 1,000 guineas. Here's Cornelius Lysett.
And maybe is the 13-8 favourite to win this for top Irish trainer Aidan O'Brien and his jockey son Joseph O'Brien. They won the 2,000 guineas yesterday with Camelot. If she wins, it will be only the 5th time that Guineas double has been pulled off here in Newmarket in the last 100 years. Total of 18 runners, 12 from Britain, 5 from Ireland, 1 from France, and behind maybe in the betting we've got Moonstone Magic then at 8-1, Mashura at 9-1, Lyric of Light is also on the 9-1 mark at the moment. Ian, this race, 12 minutes away.
Thank you very much indeed. Well. We're seeing pictures of Manchester City fans who look like they're having babies watching this game. Newcastle 0, Manchester City 1. Keep you up to date with that as it happens. There's 18 minutes left, plus whatever the referee has added on. Let's go to Loftus Road for second half commentary for a match which means just as much, even more perhaps, to Queen's Park Rangers. They have to win, surely. They're playing Stoke, Martin Keown and Conor McNamara.
Thank you very much, Ian. Well, there are now just 2 Premier League games currently underway that haven't had a goal. At Molineux, still Wolves 0, Everton 0, and here at Loftus Road, where it is 0-0, and Stoke City, who've been a bit of the draw experts recently, they've drawn 3 of their last 4 games. They've drawn 5 of their last 8 games. None of those, by the way, were 0-0 draws, which might give us a bit of hope for a goal. Here's the first attack of the second half. Header by Peter Crouch. Didn't connect with it firmly, and it's flashed across the face of goal and wide. So Stoke now playing from left to right as we look down. The red and white striped jerseys. Queen's Park Rangers in their traditional blue and white hoops. And there has been one change over the break. Ryan Shotton has come on in place of Mark Wilson, and Shotton has moved to right back, and Robert Huth has gone across and stayed in his left back position. So I'll give you a full rundown of the teams again. in just a moment, but a clearance away by Paddy Kenny, one in the air by Glenn Whelan, and Crouch gets the little touchdown, and it's controlled well by Clint Hill against his former team. This is Joey Barton on the halfway line to Mackey, very tight up against the touchline. He did well actually just to keep that in play, and the assistant waves his flag and says he's actually been fouled. We've got two players here carrying on, Mackey and Huth, and the game stopped some seconds ago. So during this break, Paddy Kenny is the Queen's Park Rangers goalkeeper. The back four, Anua, Ferdinand Hill and Taiwo. In midfield, Derry, Barton, Bazaki, with Tarapt and Mackey in wide positions, and Bobby Zamora up front. Sorensen is the Stoke keeper. Shotton at right back, Shawcross, Upson and Huth complete the back four. Delap and Whelan in midfield with Jerome, Fuller, Walters and Crouch. Have just been handed the attendance as well, 17,319. Free kick to Queen's Park Rangers, taken by Neda Manua, high into the penalty area. Upson, who's having a fine game, wins it ahead of Bobby Zamora. Crouch tackled inside his own half, again tackled unfairly. And Martin Keown, that's a few fouls now that have been given away in the opening stages. You'd imagine both managers have been drilling into their players. We'll get that from Martin in just a moment. We're going to go back to Newcastle. John Murray.
Still Newcastle 0, Manchester City 1. Yaya Touré's goal in the 71st minute. We've got 15 minutes of the 90 to go. It's beginning to open up now though. Aguero had a glorious chance to make it 2-0 to City, but rolled it just wide of the post. And Phil Brown, more interesting substitutions, this time from Newcastle, with Ben Arfa and Perch coming off, and Ferguson and Amiobi on.
Well, you've got Gutierrez playing left back now, and Santon right back. He's made a few changes in terms of the tactical side of the game. Both managers now going for it. It's wide open. This could end up, it could end up 3-0 to one side. Newcastle could get an equaliser. It's at that finely poised stage of the game.
It's Newcastle 0, Manchester City 1.
Thanks, John. Shotton on the attack here for Stoke, and his attempted cross is deflected away off Tarapt and out for a throw-in down by the corner flag. As things stand, Manchester City will be moving 3 points clear of Manchester United at the top of the table, ahead of the 4 o'clock kickoff. Full commentary on Manchester United against Swansea to come here on 5 Live. Shotton has taken over the long throw duties. He's got a good sling in him as well for Stoke. Here it is, low trajectory, not anywhere near as long as Delap would have produced, and cleared away quite comfortably by Taiwo. It's getting very exciting at the top of the table, Martin Keown.
Yeah, you know, it's just thinking back to my memories going up to St James's Park and not getting the wins that you need, and so that's going to be very tense the last 10 minutes there.
And at the bottom, Bolton still leading at the Reebok against West Brom. Aston Villa still leading Tottenham. That could end up leaving Queen's Park Rangers in the bottom 3 tonight unless they produce something here. Here comes Stoke. Fuller. Oh, what a shot! I thought that was in for a moment. We were behind Ricardo Fuller. He hits it left-footed with a banana swerve that seemed to be creeping inside the far post, and it can only have been a whisker away. It's still Queen's Park Rangers 0, Stoke 0.
Well, it must have feathered the post there. I mean, we're looking at Tarapt there, giving the ball away. It's an overindulgence from Tarapt, really, and he nearly gets polished by Fuller there.
Well, we heard from the boys up at Newcastle how Roberto Mancini made his change, and that's turned the game in his team's favour. Here at Loftus Road, Mark Hughes has made a change, and he's brought on Djibril Cissé. The man who's gone off is Akos Bazaki. So a midfielder off and a striker on, and we'll see if Cissé can continue his high-profile career with Queen's Park Rangers. High-profile in terms of he always makes the headlines. Every game he's played for Queen's Park Rangers so far, he's either scored or been sent off, and he's got 40 minutes here to make whatever impact it will be. We obviously know which one Mark Hughes will be hoping for. Here comes Barton, who's put in a lot of running today, down the left-hand side. The ball is won initially by Delap, and then Shawcross runs it out of play. That was all due to the pressure being applied by Joey Barton, and that's put Stoke a little bit on the back foot.
I think it's one of those games where you hope that Joey Barton keeps his head there. He's just got an elbow, I think, from Shawcross in the face. He's bought himself a free kick in a very good area.
Taken by Taiwo to Barton. Swings it onto his right boot. Here comes the cross, and well anticipated by the goalkeeper. Sorensen comes out and gathers it. Well, we've told you that Manchester City are leading Newcastle by 1-0. I wonder how that news will have been received at Old Trafford. Manchester United against Swansea is our commentary coming up at 4 o'clock, and Mike Ingham's got the team news.
Like a lead balloon is the answer to that. Well, Manchester United make 3 changes. Nani, Park and Giggs are replaced by Valencia, Young and Hernandez. And for Swansea, 2 changes there. Britton's injured, Gower comes in, and Rangel for Orlandi at fullback.
Thank you very much, Mike. Well, the mood at kick-off at Old Trafford will be very much determined by how things finish up in Newcastle. Now, here at Loftus Road, at the bottom of the table, Queen's Park Rangers fighting for their Premier League lives. Mackey attacks into the penalty area, goes shoulder to shoulder with Huth. He wanted a corner, referee says goal kick.
Well, I think we're going to see a bit more of that encounter there. Huth definitely puts his arm out. Mackey's got the running of him, but he just couldn't get past him, and that's Mariner maybe right on this occasion. We're just seeing a replay of it now, but if you can see, he gets his arm out. I mean, it's almost in his face, isn't it?
Yeah, there's hands everywhere. There's definitely an old-fashioned shoulder charge going on in there as well, and you can see the Queen's Park Rangers are up for this fight now, but so too will be Bolton Wanderers of the Reebok up against West Brom. And watching for us, Nigel Adderley.
5 minutes played in the second half. Bolton still lead by that Martin Petrov penalty to 0. They've had to make a change at half-time. David Wheater tweaked his left knee, making a clearance towards the end of the opening 45 minutes. He's gone off to be replaced by Zat Knight. The Bolton fans trying to get behind their team. They lead by a goal to 0.
Thanks very much, Nigel. Well, if Bolton hold on and win the game, they move from 34 up to 37 points. And if Queen's Park Rangers draw as they are at the moment, they would be on 35. So it could be a little bit of a cushion as well going into the last day for Bolton Wanderers. That's if things stand as they do. Martin, you've been watching the referee.
The referee's losing control of the game at times there. Fuller nearly putting a Neuer in the stand with a really robust challenge.
Andre Mariner, the referee. Here comes a cross from Cisse from the left-hand side. He's not happy with it, and it's put out of play by Huth. There was players arriving for Queen's Park Rangers, but Cisse's cross was too far in front of them. There is I'm sure it will be at Old Trafford later, I'm sure it is at Newcastle, but here at Loftus Road, you can cut through the tension with a knife. Barton flicks the ball forward and groans as it goes straight out of play.
Just looking at Cisse, he's a fascinating player, isn't he, really? You know, is he going to be the one today that gets sent off, or is he going to be the one that, scores the all-important goal that gives them some hope of staying in the Premiership?
Well, he's not the top-scoring Cisse in English football this season, is he? Newcastle's Papis Demba Cisse has just taken the league by storm, and who knows, that Newcastle Cisse might have a big say in how things develop today. They're still playing, but Newcastle 0, Manchester City 1 is the latest score. Anything changes, we'll be straight back with John Murray and Phil Brown. Here comes Stoke, flicked on by Jerome towards Crouch, couldn't get clean purchase, but Fuller collects the ball for Stoke. He's just outside the penalty area, left-hand side. Barton comes in to close him down. I really think Barton has covered an enormous amount of space in this game. Intercepted by Tarapton. There's a chance of a counter-attack now. If Queen's Park Rangers can be quick enough, we'll be going to Villa Park in just a moment for some developments there, but this is Tarapt, 15 yards outside the penalty area, low to the edge. Terrible first touch, you would think, by Cisse, but he recovered well to drill in the shot, and Shawcross blocked it. So come in, Pat Murphy at Villa Park.
Danny Rose of Tottenham sent off. Straight red card from Lee Frobert. He followed in on Alan Hutton. Two-footed tackle, caught him on the right leg. Both sets of benches out there. Lot of mayhem, but Lee Probert kept his head. We still haven't restarted there. All the players looking around bewildered, but I think on replay that was a fair decision. Meanwhile, Villa still lead 1-0. They're up against 10 men for the remaining 40 minutes of this match.
Aston Villa can move up to 40 points if they win that game, a number that has been anticipated and looked forward to for so long at Villa Park, but which has seemed so out of reach for many of the recent weeks. Here at Loftus Road, Queen's Park Rangers 0, Stoke City 0. 10 minutes played in the second half. Both teams here going at it hammer and tongs, and Matt Upson sweeping across to make sure Cisse, the substitute, doesn't get possession, and Upson puts the ball out of play in a throw into Queen's Park Rangers. Taken by Taiwo, down for Tarapt. Immediately Jerome comes crunching into him. I just think when you're down at the bottom of the table, you're fighting for survival. I wonder, Stoke City, are they the team you want to be playing, Martin Keogh?
Not really. Not the way that they're working and fighting and scrapping for everything. Tony Pulis, they're going to have to earn their holiday this year.
Well, Bolton are leading, Queen's Park Rangers are drawing, Aston Villa are leading. What about the top of the table? Back to John Murray at Newcastle.
Well, we have 7 minutes to play on Tyneside. It's Newcastle 0, Manchester City 1. City leading through Yaya Touré's excellent finish, and here he is now. Yaya Touré clean through, and he slips at the crucial moment, but there could be a chance for Aguero, who hits over. That again should have been 2-0 to Manchester City. but it's still just one.
John, they could rue the chance. Honestly, there's been two absolutely fantastic chances. The first one to Aguero, the second one to Yaya Toure. Yaya's missed a header from a free kick as well. If they don't get that second goal, it's going to be a nerve-wracking last 7 or 8 minutes. But he should have scored there. The keeper's pulled off a great save from the rebound.
Absolutely riveting, this game. Manchester City lead 1-0. There are only 6 minutes to go, but Phil and I, Connor, think that any scoreline is still possible here.
Thanks very much, John. Well, the impression you get listening to the boys there at Newcastle is that Manchester City have had a lot of chances in that game and they've only put one of them into the back of the net. I can only imagine what the atmosphere is like. Here at Loftus Road, it's tense also as Glenn Whelan makes an interception, getting to the ball ahead of Bobby Zamora, and Stoke continue to frustrate Queen's Park Rangers, who could be heading back into the bottom three, the way results are panning out around the country. Here is Jerome for Stoke. He's a player with a point to prove. He wants to get more starts at Stoke City, but they're holding on to possession here, Stoke, and Shawcross will give it to Upson, and then a left-footed clearance down that left-hand side. Fuller jumps in the air, Anua's picked up a knock, and I think Ricardo Fuller is going to be penalised here. I think it's going to be a free kick to QPR.
Well, it's another bruising, isn't it, encounter. Fuller this time and Anua. The amount of times we've seen, you know, that physicality coming in. It's a high ball, his arms all across his face. No, referee's just given a free kick and hasn't said anything to him.
Yeah, we've got the title race, of course, today with Manchester City leading at Newcastle and Manchester United about to kick off at 4 o'clock against Swansea. We've got the race for the Champions League spots with Tottenham trailing at Villa Park to Aston Villa at the moment, with Newcastle, of course, trailing to Manchester City. Maybe it's a good news day for Arsenal. And we've got a relegation race to get out of the bottom three, where Bolton winning at the moment against West Brom, and if it stays as it is there and elsewhere with those bottom teams, Bolton will be moving out of the bottom three tonight. We've also got a horse race to bring you, and a big one as well from Newmarket. The 1,000 guineas will be joining John Hunt very shortly. But this is 5 Live from the BBC, keeping you right up to date across the sporting spectrum as Delap from the centre circle spins an ambitious pass out towards Cameron Jerome on the near touchline. Jerome can't control it, and that is going to be a throw-in to Queen's Park Rangers. As it stands, with Spurs and Newcastle both losing, Arsenal could well be let off the hook regarding that home draw yesterday in the Champions League race. It will reduce the damage for Arsene Wenger's team.
I know, and how many lives have Arsenal had to have this year? I mean, the inconsistency of that little shelf of teams just outside the top two. If that can be improved, then they can put even more pressure on the two big sides now, Manchester United, Man City, because Chelsea must come into that next season as well.
So Yaya Toure's goal as Manchester City in front against Newcastle. We await the opening goal here at Loftus Road, and we're about to hit the hour mark. Queen's Park Rangers 0, Stoke 0. It's been fiercely contested, not too many shots on target. Sorensen has dealt with everything that's come his way, particularly a Taarabt free kick and a Joey Barton header. And here is Sorensen coming out of his penalty area and clearing the ball away down the right-hand side. Helped on first by Jerome, then by Walters. Crouch will come across. That's athletic defending, though, by Anton Ferdinand to shrug off Peter Crouch and run the ball out of play. And across comes Rory Delap to prepare to go through his regular routine.
Yeah, I mean, when you play Stoke, you have to earn the right to play. Yes, a scrap, it's a battle, and then suddenly you can play your football.
Here is Shotton, poor cross. Zamora didn't do very well controlling it, and Glenn Whelan thought he'd have a pop from 25 yards out. It was always rising, and it goes high up above Paddy Kenny's net. But that's what Queen's Park Rangers will be afraid of. One of these shots from nowhere, and if they find themselves behind, it will spell doom.
It is. I mean, I've been impressed with Whelan actually in midfield, very tidy. That shot was well and truly over the bar, but that's the sort of counter-attacking football that Stoke are almost looking for here.
I wonder what Glenn Whelan's thoughts on the title race are. He started his career at Manchester City, never made the real breakthrough into their first team, never made a league appearance for them. But he's carved out a good Premier League career for himself at Stoke, hasn't he, Glenn Whelan? And he'll, I'm sure, be going to the Euros with the Republic of Ireland as well. Here he is, making an interception in midfield and finding Jerome. Oh, a nutmeg of Taiwo. Here comes Jerome towards the edge of the box. Crouch tries to help it on. Not the best touch, actually, from Crouch. And Paddy Kenny can come through and bowl the ball out to Joey Barton. 0-0 here at Queen's Park Rangers. Let's go back to Newcastle.
2 minutes to go. 2 minutes to go. Newcastle corner into the near post. It's headed away for Manchester City. They've just had a chance, Newcastle. Amiobi with a shot that was blocked brilliantly by the latest substitute, Micah Richards. But City still leading through Yaya Touré's goal, and City coming forward with De Jong, and now Clichy inside the Newcastle box, and then Clichy pulls it into the middle. Yaya Touré's there again, and he scores his second, and that has won it for Manchester City on Tyneside. And this could be the key victory for City on the way to the title. Phil Brown.
It's absolutely phenomenal. Scenes of joy. It's, you know, you're talking about the flair of Yaya Touré and the flair of the front players, but you've got to take your hat off to the back four and the goalkeeper to keep a clean sheet on Monday night against Manchester United, and now come to St James's Park and keep another clean sheet. He's changed the system on 3 occasions with 3 substitutions. The man is tactically a genius as far as I'm concerned, and it's one of the main reasons why Man City are in the driving seat for to win the title.
2 goals from Yaya Touré in the last 20 minutes of the game. It's Newcastle 0, Manchester City 2, and I would say we can say now, Connor, that Manchester City are 1 win away from winning the Premier League.
Now, good stuff, John. We told you on 5 Live today we would not miss the big moments at St James's Park, and we've brought you both goals live here on air. But Newcastle 0, Manchester City 2, and if Manchester City hold on and beat Newcastle, and Manchester United were to lose to Swansea at 4 o'clock, the title, all but mathematically, would be Manchester City's. They would need a huge goal difference swing on the last day with Manchester United to recover from there.
Just listening to those reports there, and you remember what it's like when you're getting close to winning a championship. You're full of emotion as a player because you can almost touch it. You've got 1 more game to play, of course, and you've got to see the job through. Anything can still happen in this Premiership.
That's the voice of Martin Keown, who knows a thing or two about winning titles. Watching this game with us down at the bottom of the Premier League, where Queen's Park Rangers could be the losers today. They might be about to slip back into the relegation zone. They've conceded a free kick. Andre Marriner giving it Ricardo Fuller's way. And I think Mark Hughes is going to have 1 or 2 things to say about Mr. Marriner afterwards. The Queen's Park Rangers fans are certainly saying 1 or 2 things to him right now.
Yeah, I think it's down that opposite side of the pitch from us, isn't it? Hoof, particularly with Mackie. There seems to be a foul every 5 minutes.
So this free kick for Stoke City. This is Whelan crossing the ball in, and it's headed by Anton Ferdinand to the edge of the penalty area. Hoots tries a shot. Joey Barton has saved that with the side of his head. That was very brave from Joey Barton. We're expecting to go to Newmarket for the 1,000 guineas. I believe there's been a delay, Cornelius Lyson.
There has, Connor. It'll take place in a few minutes' time. A problem with Grey Pearl inside the stalls, and all the horses, most of them had been put in the stalls, but they've been taken out now. So big delay ahead of the 1,000 guineas. We'll keep you updated.
Thank you, Cornelius. Queen's Park Rangers have got a few Grey Pearls. They've got the manager Mark Hughes, they've got Sean Derry, but this is Cameron Jerome attacking for Stoke. 0-0 here on 5 Live. That's surely a handball from Jerome, spotted by the referee, and that is going to be a free kick. So at the moment in the Premier League, Newcastle 0, Manchester City 2. City about to stretch 3 points clear at the top. Villa are beating Spurs by 1-0. If it stays like this, Villa will be up to 40 points and safe. Bolton 1, West Brom 0. If Bolton win, they'll be out of the bottom 3 the way things stand. And Fulham 2, Sunderland 1, Wolves 0, Everton 0. Manchester United against Swansea coming up at 4 o'clock here on 5 Live, and tomorrow we've got commentary of Blackburn against Wigan. Let's go straight to Villa Park. Pat Murphy.
Penalty to Tottenham. It's going to be taken by Emmanuel Adebayor, and we cannot complain if you're a Villa supporter about this, because Richard Dunn lunged in on Sandro. He was waiting for the tackle, he took the bait, and there's a penalty. Here's Adebayor, he scored, he's sent Given the wrong way. Given kicks the post in frustration. 10-man Tottenham have equalised. Villa 1, Tottenham 1. There's half an hour to go.
Let's go straight to the Reebok, Nigel Adderley.
18 minutes played in the second half. Bolton Wanderers doing all they can do, leading West Bromwich Albion by 1-0, but Albion should be level in what's been an extremely open game. Ridgewell's cross from the left-hand side found Graham Dorrans, who was far too precise with his side foot finish, and it was straight at Adam Bogdan. This game could still go either way, of course. Bolton need to win to come out of the relegation zone as it stands, and they are winning 1-0.
Thanks very much, Nigel. There's been a delay here at Loftus Road as Queen's Park Rangers have tried in vain to take a corner, eventually swung into the box, and Glenn Whelan clears it away. So Tottenham set to stay in 4th place as things stand. They're on 66 points. Newcastle will remain outside the bottom 4 unless they get a miracle, John Murray.
The final whistle has gone and it has ended. Newcastle 0, Manchester City 2. And I've just watched Roberto Mancini and David Platt hugging one another on the edge of the coaching area. It is a win for Manchester City that takes them to the brink of the title. What a week for Mancini and his team. Victors over Manchester United on Monday and winners on Tyneside against Newcastle on Sunday.
John, it's been a fabulous week for City, and you look at the way they're celebrating. It's not an over celebration. They know they've won a very, very important game here in what can only be described as a tough atmosphere. It's a tough place to come to. You know, Newcastle, hats off to Alan Pardew. It's their last home game of the season. They've no doubt made St James's Park a fortress this year, and it's a place to come and be respected. But Man City are not over celebrating. They know they've got one game now to win the title, and I think they will do that now.
It's going to be tough for Newcastle to finish in the top 4 now after this defeat. But mind you, at the start of the season, Newcastle finishing in the top 4 would have sounded like a pipe dream. But Manchester City have won with 2 goals in the last 20 minutes from Yaya Toure, who's been one of their absolute mainstays this season. Both excellent goals in terms of a piece of finishing. And remember, Manchester City, when they last won the league title in 1968, they won it here at St James's Park. Well, this victory today has taken them right to the verge of their next league title. It's ended Newcastle 0, Manchester City 2.
The only team that can stop Manchester City now are the team we're watching here at Loftus Road, because Queen's Park Rangers travel to the Etihad next weekend, the last day of the season. Free kick to Queen's Park Rangers. Taiwo just outside the penalty area, left foot straight into the wall, comes back out to him, straight into the wall again. Stoke City proving as resilient as ever, and they're keeping Queen's Park Rangers out here. Quarter of the game still to go. Joey Barton, left-hand side, gives it back to Terapt. Queen's Park Rangers heading for the relegation. Beautiful footwork from Terapt, but then the shot is too high. He did a little dance, he flicked the ball between his own feet, but he needed to keep the shot lower, Martin Keown.
Yeah, you wonder at times, as he overindulges, but his feet work is amazing there. Makes the opening, then he should do better with the shot. It's almost as if he's surprised himself that he's got away from his opponent.
Well, we heard from John Murray there at Newcastle. Manchester City now up to 86 points. Manchester United 83 to play at 4 o'clock. 10 goals between them in the goal difference column in Manchester City's favour. I guess, Martin, having beaten Manchester United and having beaten Newcastle, the form they're in, people can't have complaints if Manchester City win the title. Have they been the best team for you?
Oh, well, this week has been amazing, hasn't it? To win 2 games like that, with that quality, handling all the nerves, the expectation. And really, I think the home game now against QPR, just the emotion of the day, the build-up, I feel it would just be theirs now.
Top of the table, Manchester City 86 points, Manchester United 83, Arsenal on 67 points, Tottenham, as things stand, 66. Those are the top 4, with Newcastle having lost today just outside the top 4 on 65 points. 1 game to go now for Newcastle. 1 game to go as well for Arsenal, who played yesterday, and Tottenham still in action at Villa Park. Here at Loftus Road, Queen's Park Rangers need a goal, for their Premier League survival could well depend on it. Here comes the free kick, swung in by Terapt from the far side. Peter Crouch heads it away. Cisse won't be able to gather, and Cameron Jerome has got some energy in his legs. Spins up to the halfway line, passes infield to Walters. Walters gets away from the first tackle, but then he runs out of steam, and it's helped back to Paddy Kenny.
Well, you're just looking there at QPR, they're demonstrating that they're prepared to work back as well. Cisse getting back there, getting a vital foot in, and then in the end it was Ferdinand. So this game's on a knife edge.
Big 20 minutes to come now in the Premier League relegation race, and this is Walters for Stoke, back to Whelan, now to Shotton on the right hand side. Shotton came on as a substitute during the break. Let's go back to the Reebok Stadium and find out how Queen's Park Rangers relegation rivals Bolton are faring. Nigel Adderley.
They're beginning to hang on now with 68 minutes played, still leading by a goal to 0. They've just brought on Ivan Klasnic for David Ngog, but West Brom continue to look the more dangerous side. A few moments ago, Liam Ridgewell rampaging into the area on the overlap down the left, and his blast towards the near post was blocked by Adam Bogdan. Bolton 1, West Brom 0.
And what about 10-man Tottenham at Aston Villa? Pat Murphy. Murphy.
It's 1-1 here, and 10-man Tottenham, after Rose was sent off with 40 minutes to play, are more than worth this draw at the moment. Friedelo off his line very quickly to hack clear from Weimann as a dangerous counter-attack, but Tottenham make the ball do the work better than than Villa rather. Being a man short might not be a major problem for them. It's Villa 1, Tottenham 1.
Thanks very much, Pat. At the moment, the bottom of the table looks like this. Aston Villa are on 38 points, ahead of Wigan and Bolton, who will both be on 37 if things stay as they are at the Reebok. Those clubs above the relegation zone at the moment. And the bottom three, as things stand, look like this. Queen's Park Rangers 35 points, Blackburn 31, who play tomorrow, commentary on 5 Live, and Wolves, who've already been relegated. So Queen's Park Rangers, even a draw now will not be enough to keep them out of the bottom three as things stand. They need to go and win this game, Martin Keown.
Well, it's inconceivable that they can win next week. So they've just, their whole season is resting now, really, in the latter stages of this match. And just the wrong side to be playing against, isn't it? Stoke, they're just battling for everything. Hardly anything to play for but their pride. Such is the professionalism of the manager and the way that Tony Pulis can, sets his stall out. Stoke are really up for this today, and they're matching them in every department. It's really quite a brutal, really, and you look at it out in the wide positions with Fuller and Anua, a real physical battle there, and Taiwo out on this right-hand side with Jerome. I mean, nothing been given by either quarter.
Yeah, I mean, Stoke do have things to play for, if you like, not of the importance perhaps of Queen's Park Rangers, but they can still finish in the top half of the table, for example, and if they get 4 more points between today and next week, they will beat their best ever total in the Premier League, which is 47 points. They got that in 2009-2010, and things like that will matter to the club as they try to continue their upward curve.
Not to mention the prize money as well for finishing higher up the table.
Bit of defending for Queen's Park Rangers to do here. Nedum Anua, under pressure from Fuller, keeps his head and just slots a back pass to Paddy Kenny, who's been urged by the Queen's Park Rangers fans to get on with it, to launch the ball up the field. They've got 2 big strikers up there, Cisse and Zamora.
He's fouling Hoof is fouling Mackie every time, and the linesman on that side of the pitch just can't see it. And Mackie is just, you wonder if he's going to react in the end, because in fairness, I saw him kick out just a moment ago.
Now this could be big. Let's go to the Reebok. A goal for Nigel Adderley.
And it's 2-0 to Bolton Wanderers, and the sort of freak goal you cannot believe happens to sides at this stage of the season. It ended up being an own goal by Billy Jones. Petrov swung it into the penalty area from the left-hand side, and Liam Ridgewell came in trying to side-foot the ball away. All he did was side-foot the ball onto the chest of Billy Jones, and it ballooned high into the net. West Bromwich Albion cannot believe it, but Bolton Wanderers cannot believe their luck. They lead by 2-0, and surely now they're heading out of the relegation zone with 17 minutes to play.
Thanks, Nigel. That is not good news for Queen's Park Rangers. We have got 16 minutes to play here at Loftus Road. The home side are on the attack. Barton to Tirapt. The usual little drag back, step overs, wriggles, jiggles, still can't get away from Ryan Shotton though. That's a better back heel to Barton. Lovely cross. Oh, it was close to Zamora, but Stoke once again get it clear. And Mackie wins the throw in on the far side. Well, with the second goal, things looking good for Bolton, and that means Queen's Park Rangers will not be relying on West Brom coming back and drawing that game. Queen's Park Rangers know they've got to go and win this one. It remains 0-0 at Loftus Road. We're still waiting for the 1,000 guineas at Newmarket. We'll be with Cornelius Lyson and John Hunt as soon as that gets underway. Well, this is Tirapt inside the Stoke half. Lays a short pass back to Barton. Sean Derry's got some space in midfield. Brings in Tirapt once again. Cameron Jerome makes the tackle though. Tirapt ends up lying face down on the grass, and possession with the Stoke goalkeeper Sorensen.
Yeah, we just had sort of 3 crosses into the box, and almost food and drink, isn't it, for the Stoke defenders. Zamora excellent in the air, but it's been matched, isn't it, by the defending of Stoke.
Stoke preparing to make another change. Mark Hughes will be delighted to see another big giant coming on, because Kenwyne Jones is being prepared. This is Cisse for Queen's Park Rangers. He's not scored and he's not been sent off yet, so it's not been a very normal game for him. Tirapt across midfield to Mackie. 9 players behind the ball for Stoke. Mackie holds it up, waits for Anua to come on the overlap. This is Nedum Anua, 5 yards short of the penalty area, tried to take it on too far himself. He's lost possession. And it's cleared away by Fuller up to the halfway line. Peter Crouch back to Ricardo Fuller, a rare Premier League start for him this season. He gives the ball away. This is a chance. Taarabt steadies himself, shoots, no power, and it takes a deflection anyway through to the goalkeeper.
Yeah, Cisse there screaming at him there. Feels he's in a better position. Taarabt sometimes, you know, he's on a crusade of his own. At times a little bit greedy. If he gets his head up there, there's a better player in a better position.
Confirmation of the scores of the moment on 5 Live. 0-0 here between Queen's Park Rangers and Stoke City. Newcastle have lost 2-0 at home to Manchester City. Manchester City 3 points clear now at the top of the Premier League, ahead of Manchester United against Swansea coming up at 4. Here's a chance for Cisse. Brilliant save by Sorensen. Cisse's header was down. It was on target. The Danish goalkeeper has pulled off a fantastic save. It might come again for Barton. Dinks it into Zamora. 8 yards out. Back to goal. Here is Barton again. Left-footed. Oh, he slipped as he shot it, and it rises up over the crossbar, and perhaps this is not going to be Queen's Park Rangers' day.
Wow, fantastic header from Cisse there, finally getting on the end of something. Hasn't done anything since he's been on.
Another goal at Bolton. Sorry, Martin. Nigel Adderley.
Game on here now. Bolton 2, West Bromwich Albion 1. Chris Brunt shooting in low from the edge of the penalty area after Shane Long's initial shot had been blocked. Bolton edgy again. Their lead has been trimmed to 2-1.
We've just seen a replay of that header from Thomas Sorensen. It was Cisse's header. It wasn't the most powerful, but it was down, it was on target, it was heading towards the corner. It needed a very good save.
Yeah, it was a textbook header. They say head it to the ground. He did. It bounced off the deck, and Sorensen somehow gets fingertips on it.
Whitehead has come on as a bit of an extra reinforcement into the midfield for Stoke here, and Kenwyne Jones has come on as well, that double change. So Jones and Crouch both up front. Cameron Jerome has gone off, and here's a ball over the top which Taarabt, fair play to, will sprint after. I don't think he's ever going to get there, and that goes out for a throw into Stoke, right full-back position for them. We've got 12 minutes of normal time remaining. Could this be the day the Queen's Park Rangers fans look back on their season in the top flight and say that's where things really went wrong? Here they are at home against a Stoke City side just 4 places ahead of them in the table, remember. But they can't make the break and get their noses in front. Anton Ferdinand plays it forward, high and hopeful for Cisse, who is offside, as the linesman's flag on the far side indicates. And Stoke is sticking to their task, Martin.
Yeah, they are. You know, and I'm just wondering now if it's sort of sinking into the crowd here, that the realisation that this might not be their year. And, you know, you look back at, my mind goes back certainly to the Wolves match. We talk about Cisse getting sent off in that game, a game they were, you know, in charge of, and all of a sudden they lose that game. I think Wolves is the last game they've won this season, and that was really maybe where it's cost them their season.
Well, this was one of those days. Had it gone their way, Queen's Park Rangers could have moved 3 points clear of the relegation zone this evening. As it is, they're going to drop into the bottom 3. Bolton leading West Brom by a narrow margin, 2-1. They'll be hoping Roy Hodgson is as good a manager as the FA think he is. That's what Queen's Park Rangers fans will be hoping right now. Pretend it's the Euros, Roy. What can you do? What last-minute change can you make? This is Neda Manua in possession for Queen's Park Rangers, right full-back position. Now the seconds ticking away on the clock with just over 10 minutes of normal time to go. Here comes Robert Hood, those enormous legs of his pumping like pistons over the halfway line. Barton is backtracking. Delap in a right wing position, slips, Barton comes in to tackle it. Delap does just enough to give it to Glenn Whelan. Now the ball into the penalty area. Crouch and Walters both at the back post, and Paddy Kenny makes the save.
Yeah, you know, it's almost a reluctant attack though from Stoke. They're so happy to defend. Look at the way Walters is getting back. Mackie finally getting space here now up on the right.
Here comes Mackie to the edge of the penalty area, and again it's Huth and Walters between them who made the tackle. Walters tried to dribble his way out of trouble. A little bit of a nervy moment, but he got away with it. And now Whitehead will look to complete the job in a bit of a calmer manner. 0-0 here. Manchester City have beaten Newcastle 2-0 in that big game in the northeast. We will hear from Roberto Mancini before 4 o'clock, before the kickoff at Old Trafford, where Hernandez, I believe, is back in the team for Manchester United against Swansea. Here comes Zamora just outside the penalty area. We'll go to Bolton in just a moment. Taiwo here sends in a cross, headed out by Shawcross for the corner. Come in, Nigel Adderley.
Play Bolton 2, West Bromwich Albion 1. Of course, if Albion score again, Bolton will be back into the relegation zone, and they are dropping deeper and deeper. A long ball forward now, almost caught out Tim Ream, but Chris Brunt's control let him down inside the area. 2-1 to Bolton.
Nigel 0-0 here at Loftus Road, and Mark Hughes is just going for it. He has to. He's bringing on 2 attacking players. Jay Bothroyd will replace Bobby Zamora, and the other change is going to be Sean Derry off and Sean Wright-Phillips to come on. One Sean for another. I'm sure Sean Wright-Phillips will be pleased to hear the news from Newcastle earlier on today. A big Manchester City fan, former player. Here comes a corner into the penalty area, and Sorensen gathers it on the edge of the 6-yard box. So, well, Sean Wright-Phillips might create a few crosses, and they'll be hoping Bothroyd could get on the... I mean, amazing form last season for Cardiff in the Championship for Jay Bothroyd. So good, in fact, it got him into the England squad. But just 2 goals for Queen's Park Rangers this season.
Well, he's hardly featured, does he? You know, and he was one of the earliest signings they made until the change of the ownership and more money went into the club, and he really hasn't played at all.
He's the man now who their survival hopes could well be resting on. Jay Bothroyd leading the line with Djibril Cissé. Queen's Park Rangers need a goal. At the moment, they are dropping into the bottom 3 as things stand. Wolves 0, Everton 0. At Molineux, the other scoreless game at the moment in the Premier League. Fulham leading Sunderland just 2-1. Bolton leading West Brom 2-1 on a low ball into the penalty area. Bothroyd didn't get a touch, but a defender did, and that's going to be a corner. They're all close games today. Villa and 10-man Spurs still drawing 1-1 at Villa Park. This is a big corner now, Martin Keown.
Yeah, Tarat's, you know, it's a shot there from him. He's involved in everything. It's good and bad, actually.
It's rolled short to Barton. Oh, it's not the easiest one for Barton to collect under pressure from Shotton. He's done well. Shotton trips him, and the referee says goal kick. I really thought that could have been... Well, you know what? Joey Barton's not made much of it, so maybe the referee did get that right. Barton gets back up to his feet and plays ball boy for Sorensen.
We said good and bad from Tarat, though. You wonder why is he playing a lazy short pass there to Joey
It's not
Barton.
the time for it, no.
Deal with that one. You know, get the ball in the box and test this Stoke defence. Message to the Bolton fans, by the way. I mean, you'd think that Stoke, with a team that were battling to stay in this division the way that they're fighting to get a point here today, because the work rate, certainly from Walters, he's been everywhere for Stoke.
I just think if you're in and around the relegation battle, and if you don't score on your last home game of the season, it's not going to bode well for you. And at the moment, Queen's Park Rangers being held 0-0. First jinky run by Sean Wright-Phillips, gets away from Shawcross, can't get away from Shotton. And Delap feeds it to Whelan, and Stoke play their way out of trouble. Here's the substitute, Kenman Jones. Terrible ball for him, but he'd handled it anyway as he tried to control it. And Andre Mariner gives a free kick to Queen's Park Rangers, probably 15 yards outside the penalty area, central location, and we've got just over 6 nervy minutes remaining. All the fans here at Loftus Road will be aware that Bolton are in front. They know that Blackburn play tomorrow. This is Tarat rolling a low ball into the penalty area. Bothroyd tries to turn and cross. It comes off the shins for a corner. Quickly to Aston Villa, Pat Murphy.
It's still 1-1 here, and Tottenham, 10-man Tottenham after Rose sent off, still pressing for the winning goal, but the other end Dunn is headed just wide at the far post. Villa 1, Tottenham 1.
Here comes the corner, played in from Tarat, better corner, high towards the back post. Anton Ferdinand had the chance, a defender's header. He's put it over the crossbar. We need to check back in with Newmarket. We were waiting for the 1,000 guineas, and there's still a hold-up, Cornelius Lyson.
Yeah, we're now, 25 minutes late. The horse is now going back into the stalls for the second time. Big problem with Grey Pearl, who's been moved off the course. But the horse is now going in, the race a couple of minutes away. 13-8 favourite, maybe.
That won't be doing much for the nerves of the connections at Newmarket, and this game here is not doing much for the nerves of Queen's Park Rangers fans. We have got 5 minutes of normal time remaining. It's on a knife edge. One goal changes everything, because one goal for Queen's Park Rangers here will move them up ahead of Bolton, no matter what Bolton managed to do in their game at the Reebok. Here is Upson under pressure, clears the ball away. Bothroyd was bearing down on him. Upson's played well today, and Queen's Park Rangers have run it out of play on the far side. That's going to be a throw into Stoke.
Joey Barton's unlucky there, isn't he? You know, he really has put a stint in, hasn't he, Joey, today?
And you know, on Joey Barton, leaving Newcastle, coming to Queen's Park Rangers, and you might have thought, well, he's just come for the money. That wasn't an aspirational move. He has put in the work rate. He's become embedded with this club. He really wants them to survive, and you can tell that with his performances.
Well, listen, when you walk the streets in the summer as a Premiership player, you're a very proud man. That's your Premiership status, and that's taken away from you. you know, it doesn't feel so good, and he's fighting for that today.
Do Premier League footballers walk the streets?
Of course they do. Only in the summer, though.
Thought they'd be chauffeur driven along the streets. That's the voice of Martin Keown watching this game with us here on 5 Live, where it's been 0-0, but it's probably been as entertaining a 0-0 as I've seen all season. You can just sense the importance of the game for Queen's Park Rangers, and this could be their second last game in the top flight. The way things are working out, they're dropping into the relegation zone with 1 game to play. Delap takes the latest throw in. Hoot got up in the air. Barton actually dragged him onto the ground. Those two are having a little tangle in the penalty area. Out of the vision of the referee, though. And Queen's Park Rangers managed to clear the ball out for another Stoke throw. 0-0 it remains. If you've missed the football news earlier on today, Manchester City beat Newcastle 2-0. We can now go back to Newmarket and join John Hunt.
Yes, eventually away here for the 1,000 guineas. Connor, Homecoming Queen is the one who strode into an early clear advantage. She's 3 lengths clear already. Lightning Pearl sits in second place with Laugh Out Loud, and also Ala Speranza not far away. Nayara's right up with the pace as well, followed by the favourite, Maybe, sent off around 13-8. She's in a good position here in about 6th or 7th place, just ahead of Radio Gaga, and then Lily's Angel slightly further back. In the middle of the track is Lyric of Light, defending an unbeaten record. She is. Then comes Starscope, who's one of the fillies who got a little bit upset before the start. Sunday Times now towards the back end of the field. Moonstone Magic, who should in theory love this rain that's falling currently. She's towards the back, and so too is Discourse right at the back of the field too, in company with Diala, as they race then down towards the 3 furlong marker. Still Homecoming Queen in second place. Lightning Pearl, then ridden along Ala Speranza, followed then by Starscope. Maybe still only in 6th place and with work to do, and Homecoming Queen has stretched again here, and she's powering away by about 5 lengths. She's led all the way in the Guineas, and there's nothing really coming out of the pack to chase her. Homecoming Queen is clear here by 7 or 8 lengths. Ala Speranza in second, Maybe running on with Nayara, and then after those on the outside is Laugh Out Loud, but it's Homecoming Queen. She is home for all money, winning here in devastating style. She bounced out of the gates, was soon 3 lengths clear. At the line, she's 8 lengths clear. Homecoming Queen, an amazing winner from Starscope in second place, Maybe in third, followed then by the Fuge, and that is a double, a Guineas double for Aidan O'Brien. Homecoming Queen. Connor, back to you. More action at Loftus Road.
Queen's Park Rangers have taken the lead. Jibril Cisse with the late goal here. We had to wait for the late start at Newmarket. They've had to wait for the late goal at Loftus Road. But what a crucial moment in the relegation battle, because Jibril Cisse might have just moved Queen's Park Rangers up above Bolton, up above Wigan, and out of the bottom 3. And look at the atmosphere here now. Queen's Park Rangers believe that they might be staying up.
Unbelievable scenes. Listen, Ferdinand suddenly heads it across the goal. We talked about Cisse. He's either sent off or he scores, and today he scored. Let's hope he stays on the pitch.
7 games for Jibril Cisse for Queen's Park Rangers, and as Martin said, he's continued his record. 2 red cards, 5 goals. Life is never boring when Jibril Cisse is around. I wonder what the reaction to that has been at the Reebok, because Bolton have slipped back into the bottom 3, Nigel Adderley.
Plenty of glum faces around the home end here with 2.5 minutes to play. Bolton still lead by 2 goals to 1. It may be a case now of who do you back on the final day, Stoke against Bolton, or of course Queen's Park Rangers against Manchester City, as West Bromwich Albion pour forward in search of an equaliser. Bolton now will be desperate to at least cling on to 3 points here and maybe give themselves the best chance of survival in a straight shootout next Sunday. 2-1 to Bolton.
And what I wonder is the reaction at Villa Park, because if Queen's Park Rangers win this and if Aston Villa draw, Queen's Park Rangers will be level on points with Villa. Pat Murphy.
And Villa will still have to get something from their trip to Carrow Road next Sunday. Lead Balloon is the short answer to that one, Connor. And Tottenham are still looking for the winner. It's Villa 1, Tottenham 1.
Thanks very much, Pat. I'll tell you what, Martin Keown, this has become a day of football, hasn't it? You know, we've Manchester City winning at the top. That puts it up to Manchester United now at 4 o'clock. And we've had this swing where for most of the afternoon Bolton have been moving out of the bottom 3. As things stand now, with seconds to go, they're back in the relegation zone.
Yeah, I mean, you see, when it's on the line, you see with characters that come out, and there's been tremendous character today in this QPR team. I'm just looking at Joey Barton trying to win the ball back, running the length and breadth of the field. Cece gathering the ball on the halfway line. He's just gone the full length of it there, just to waste a little bit of time for his team. And the crowd are just loving every moment of it.
Well, they're bouncing around the place. Our Queen's Park Rangers, confirmation of the bottom of the table. QPR would be level on points with Wigan and Bolton, all on 37, but QPR would have a better goal difference, only slightly on Wigan in terms of actually goals scored, but 8 goals better off than Bolton, which is, well, that's almost as good as having an extra point going into the last day of the season. And I'll tell you what as well, Queen's Park Rangers will hope that next weekend Bolton are given every bit as much of a battle by Stoke City as Queen's Park Rangers have had to endure today.
Well, you know, in terms of the Premiership, the integrity of the Premiership and teams working hard, you'd be sure of that next week.
Delap clears the ball long down the field, all the way through to Paddy Kenny. They think it's all over around us. They're cheering at Loftus Road, but the final whistle has not gone. I think it might be because something's happened at the Reebok Stadium. Nigel Adderley.
Astonishing. Bolton 2, West Bromwich Albion 2. Chris Brunt with the equaliser 25 seconds before the end of normal time. Bolton got deeper and deeper and deeper, and Simon Cox's low ball into the penalty area volleyed in by Chris Brunt. So Bolton Wanderers will go into the final day 2 points behind Queen's Park Rangers, and the desolation here is apparent all around the Reebok Stadium. Bolton 2, West Bromwich Albion 2.
If it stays like this, Bolton will be on 35 points, Wigan and QPR on 37, Villa on 38. It's going to go down to the last day, but Bolton will be in big trouble. They'll be the team with the most to make up. It won't, of course, be easy for Queen's Park Rangers. They'll be up against Manchester City, chasing the title at the Etihad. But Mark Hughes would have taken this at the start of today.
Yeah, it's gone a little bit frantic here, the way they play. Mariner missing 2 or 3 free kicks there. Crouch all over his opponent.
Remember, it's not over here yet, and Stoke City could still get a goal. We're going to go to Villa Park in just a moment, but Stoke have got an attacking throw-in, which Shotton is preparing to launch into the penalty area. Here it comes towards Rory Delap. Good defending by Tarap to get it away, but now Whitehead back into the mix. Oh, this is a big moment now. An attempted shot by Crouch, and it just goes wide. That could have been Queen's Park Rangers season right there. Let's go back to Villa Park. Pat Murphy.
Well, that certainly woke up the whole day, and you can see them bouncing up and down at the news. The power of the tranny radio, especially as Villa have been hanging on for the last half an hour since that Tottenham equalised it. We have around 5 minutes left because you have the injuries and the sending off. Villa are hanging on, but they've been buoyed by that news from the Reebok. Villa won, Tottenham won.
Thanks very much. Well, tomorrow, even if Blackburn win their game against Wigan, it probably won't be enough the way things stand to move them out of the bottom 2, let alone out of the relegation zone. Adel Taarabt, who's never one for doing the easy thing, has just tried to score from inside the centre circle.
Yeah, he's tried everything. We said he's been good and bad today, but listen, the commitment from this QPR team, if you stay up on hard work and endeavour and character today, then they certainly deserve to stay in the Premiership.
Well, just to share a little moment for listeners tuning in as Sorensen prepares to take a goal kick, when Djibril Cissé scored the goal for Queen's Park Rangers, there's the full-time whistle. It's all over here, and Queen's Park Rangers have beaten Stoke. They're moving out of the bottom 3, moving away from the bottom 3. But when John Hunt was describing the commentary of Homecoming Queen winning the 1,000 guineas at Newmarket, and we were bobbing along to the rhythm and the tempo of his commentary, Queen's Park Rangers were breaking up the field, and Djibril Cissé was scoring the goal. For myself and Martin Keown, we enjoyed that. Queen's Park Rangers have certainly enjoyed this win, and the relegation battle goes down to the last day.
Well, there were tremendous scenes here at the end of the season last year when they got promoted, but none better than today. They see this as a major victory. They've been incredible their last 5 home games that they've won on the bounce. You have to hand it to Mark Hughes if they're going to stay in the Premiership.
Well, the other clubs down there on the bottom can be assured that Stoke City gave their all here. here. They really put up the fight. And if Queen's Park Rangers are to stay in the top flight, they will look back on this performance as a day when they really dug in their heels and refused to go down without a big fight. It's all over at Loftus Road. They will go to the Etihad next weekend believing they can stay up. It's finished Queen's Park Rangers 1, Stoke City 0.
Thank you very much. A very dramatic day. Blackburn Rovers then.